Everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Down Unders, the show where you get to watch every little bit of NRL content that we're going to be bringing with you on Wise Up TV for this weekend coming up. And we got my man Brody back again. Everyone loved you last week, Brody. Yeah, everyone loved you last week, Brody, my brother. They love the
Everybody
doggies.
loves
they
the
love
doggies.
you.
That's the one.
On the Warriors channel, man, you did really well. Obviously, you know, guys, I don't think I really pointed out that was actually Brody's first time doing like anything sort of content-wise, you know, anything like that. I know there was some comments saying that, can we please link Brody's, like, you know, social media and stuff like that, thinking that obviously you do content, bro. So that's a really good sign. If you, yeah, so if you might have to start up a YouTube channel, content. Bro.
It's going on YouTube. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Was it that 18 plus content, bro? The OnlyFans stuff,
It can be. It can be.
But how's your week been, my bro? Obviously, you know, no doggies played this weekend, so you got the big win over the bye. Tough competition in that, but it's good to see the doggies get over the top of the bye there.
Yeah, man. Any week above the Broncos on the ladder is a good week, so can't complain about that one. So yeah, no, good week off, nice and relaxed.
And it's also good to see, like, you're sixth on the ladder now after, you know, 1 week there, just, you know, grafting up the ladder. The doggies are defensively. You guys have been unreal. And guys, I know you tuned into this episode. We did see last week someone comment and said, can we see a mid-season report? And guess what, guys? We are going to do that. We're going to go for each and every team, their stats or their points against and their points for, you know, where they sort of rank each and every way. And then we're going to rank their season overall. And the way we rank in our season coming up is more so like how the team was supposed to go and how they have gone. It's not more so of like, you know, they're bottom of the ladder, they're going to get an F. It might happen that way. It might not. If they're top of the ladder, they might get a B. They might get an A. It's really dependent on how they've gone this season against other competition and stuff. So we got that. We're going to a little bit of preview of Origin, just our thoughts around the team list coming up. But we also do have an Origin show coming before Origin next week. So do tune in for that for all your value bets and that, because Brody's definitely going to be loading up on some mean multis for that one. Sure. And then, yeah, touching on the big news, first of all, for the weekend, the first news of the weekend too, my brother, Damien Cook is going to the St. George Illawarra Dragons. A massive move. What does this mean for Jacob Little? What does this mean for the Dragons? What does this mean for the Rabbitohs, bro? What's your thoughts on Damien Cook to the Dragons?
I was a little bit shocked with this one, in my opinion. I think Damien Cook hasn't been in terrible form, especially now that the Bunny's back on the right track. But I don't know. I just thought with the Dragons, with the direction they're heading this year, building for their future, to sign someone that's coming to the back end of their career, to me, isn't the smartest move, in my opinion. Look, he'll be great for them. I'm sure he'll do a job. But, you know, you've got a young gun like Little who is really building into that role right now. I would have maybe stuck with Little. And if I was either the Rabbits or the Eels, I'd be pulling out my checkbook straight away, trying to chase Jacob Little. I think that'd be a smart option for him. But as for Cookie, don't get me wrong, I think he'll kill it under the size of the pack that the Dragons do have and Benny Hunt's direction. I think that'll be good for him. But yeah, for the Dragons as a club going forward, I didn't see a great, I don't know. I can't say not a great option, because for the short term, he's going to be a gun, absolutely gun. He's proven himself on all levels. But for the future, I thought Little would be the way to go. And I think maybe they'll hope to maybe keep him and learn off Cook. I don't know. But if I was Little, I'd be going to a club that's desperate for a hooker, like the Rabbits will be and the Eels.
Yeah, it really found out like I think Little, like it seemed like Little found a little bit of a home there at the Dragons. Like, he's been fairly underrated. I think like, from what we knew when he was at the Tigers, it was mainly injuries that have really held him back from his potential. And it's not to say he's reached his potential at the Dragons either. I think injuries have crept back into his game and that, but as you said, like he is the younger hook out of the two. He's 27 years old comparatively to Damien Cook, who is currently 32 years old. So we all know that Damien Cook's coming towards the end of his career. The Rabbitohs, they've obviously been talking about Peter Mamazoulis to really step up and take over that 9. I felt like, the Dragons have a good enough 9 there to really hold that spot. I didn't expect this move overall. When I first heard it, I was kind of like, it didn't make sense to me to start with. The only way I can make sense of it is more so Damien Cook's going to be the guy to ease Little, maybe teach him a little bit more around. But like Little's been in the competition for a little while now, and he's performed fairly well, in my opinion, for the type of player, the Dragons got him for. I'm pretty sure they got him for cheap. Damien Cook's going for $500K all reportedly. So really interesting little move there from the Dragons. And I'm not too sure. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I think it's just waiting and seeing really how it will come through.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely a strange one, and it's going to take a bit of time to get the thought process behind that. So it'd be interesting to see when Flanagan comes out and touches base on the thoughts behind that signing, or Cook himself wanting to go to a club like the Dragons. So It's interesting.
Because we both do agree, like, Damien Cook is more so towards the end of his career than what he is at his prime years and that. But yeah, like it's a really interesting move on the Dragons end of things. And from all, like, they're losing someone like Zach Lomax. So that would have freed up a ton of cash there too. You would have thought that they'll free that up into different areas of their game. You know what I mean? Like if they're going to be, like they've re-signed Benny Hunt, they're starting to get things in order, but they've got a lot of great juniors that they got bringing through. It's a really interesting move overall. I'm not too sure how it will work. But really, I think it's a wait and see what really happens next season, brother.
Yeah, definitely. It's it's definitely a wait and see, and see what form he brings at the end of the season for the Rabbits. Maybe they make a late push for the finals, and he's outstanding. Who knows? It's definitely interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, 100%, bro. And we may as well move into another big signing that we didn't really get to touch on last week, but is definitely big news coming to this week. TEVITA PANGAI Jr. So a guy that's been out of football, didn't want to be at the Doggies, apparently, left him, apparently said, listen, you can have my, $700K, $800K contract. I'm going to go up north, up to Brizzy and that and go fight. Comes back to the Dolphins. Really interesting move from the Dolphins, especially, I understand they are having injuries and, they're really light in the middle and that, but having someone that has come out and said things like, I won't play under it. Like, I don't like playing under a halfback. Like, I don't like people telling me what to do. Like, your thoughts on TEVITA PANGAI Jr. at the Dolphins, and obviously all the news coming out of TEVITA PANGAI Jr., like that whole situation, it's just muddled. Like, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I think his last opponent in the boxing definitely told him not to quit his day job, so he didn't do that and decided to go back to his day job of playing rugby league. So for me, look, with what Wayne Bennett can get out of players, it doesn't surprise me that he will probably get the best out of TEVITA PANGAI Jr. and really simplify his role like he was at the Broncos, just, head down, ass up, go forward. He looked like a beast, but at the end of the day, with what the Dolphins are building and what they've shown this year, they've got the faith in the young half, and they've got Jeremy Marshall-King probably playing his best footy. You don't want to disturb that by having a front rower or a lock forward thinking that they're the main man. And like I said, Wayne Bennett should be able to pull him in line, but for the culture that the Dolphins clearly have this year on and by the looks off the field and what they're achieving, I wouldn't have chased somebody like TEVITA PANGAI Jr. And to me, again, I'm really big on guys really showing that they want that spot. And to me, for him to walk out on a contract like he had at the Doggies, I'm not salty about him leaving the Doggies. He was shit for us. So by all means, on your bike. And we're doing so much better without him. So I'm not mad about that by all means. But just I'm really big on the contract and guys, owning that contract, honoring that contract. So it's just, for me, I don't know why we keep giving guys like this second chances instead of signing a young gun that's going to really prove themselves, So that's my thoughts on it. How about yourself? I know he was a beast at the Broncos, but Yeah.
Yeah, like, because we've had these chats all the time, at work, and I think there was a period of time, remember when we signed Matt Lodge, and it was a thing of like, who would you rather out of Broncos? There was a lot of rumors of who was going to leave the Broncos, and we end up signing Matt Lodge. You guys end up getting TEVITA PANGAI Jr., and I was throwing up, I would preferably rather PANGAI Jr. mainly on the potential that you could unlock with him. But it's coming to find out, like, the reason why he's getting held back is majority on, like, his ego and that. And he might be a different person when you meet him, like, face to face and all that. But the way he portrays himself over the media really doesn't help him and really puts a spotlight on that club for that sort of reason as well. And as we kind of spoke about before, like, the Dolphins, as you just touched on before, actually, the Dolphins are building a culture there. They got the Jesse Bromwiches of the world. They got the Kafusis of the world. Like, there was news stories last year about Milford not being able to make, the squad because of him coming in overweight, the way he was, talking and all that sort of stuff that, they came together and said, no, we don't want that. I understand that there's a lot of injuries there, but this is one of those type of players that has that same sort of mold. Like, he came in, he didn't train with the squad for the first day because apparently he had the flu. Like, it's little things like that with TEVITA PANGAI Jr. that you get. You know that there's something in there, but it's going to take a lot more to get it out of him. And even if you do, it's a big high risk, high reward sort of thing. And you only seen the positive out of Pangai is probably that Panthers stint that he had running into the finals. And even then, you barely got to see him really in that stint. He was good, but like you barely got to see him. And that's why the doggies really, I think, got the crack out of him. You know what I mean? They were like, oh, maybe we can get it out of him. But this has happened that many times with TEVITA PANGAI Jr. I don't know when clubs would turn around and be like, I think we're not going to see the best TEVITA PANGAI Jr. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. And look, anybody could look good at the Penrith Panthers. Even Charlie Staines did. So let's just not touch on anybody's form when they're at the Panthers, because clearly anyone can go well when they're at the Panthers. But yeah, look, I don't understand that for the Dolphins culture and what they're trying to do there. Yeah, I thought they were a very culture-based club, and unless he's going to turn a new leaf overnight, I don't see what that signing is about for them, other than, like you said, the injuries and that bit of leg speed through the middle. They've got an aging pack, a lot of injuries, but again, I would have liked to see someone like Josh Kerr get a lot more game time over signing someone like TEVITA PANGAI Jr. So, but Bennett's, again, not a dumb man, and he will get the best out of TEVITA PANGAI Jr. So I'm sure he will have a good game, and I'm not going to sit there and eat my words, but it's just an attitude thing for me that I really wouldn't have chased someone like TEVITA PANGAI Jr. That's all.
Yeah, and like when you think about it too, like the Dolphins, probably the smartest part of all the story is the Dolphins only signing him for the rest of this season, and then it's really up to them what they want to do after that. And like Wayne Bennett obviously leaving at the end of the season, you wouldn't sign TEVITA PANGAI for next season, in my opinion, just judging off this yet, because if Wayne leaves, you're left with a guy that could possibly just go back off the rails again and really want to leave out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Yeah. I feel like Wayne's the big one at the moment. It's like, Wayne will probably get the best out of him, but as soon as he leaves, you probably don't want him still on the books because you just know what could come out of him. And there's a lot of chat of whether Wayne will take him to the South Sydney Rabbitohs, but from memory, he didn't want to be in Sydney. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things. It's just like he's going to double back on everything he's really saying in general. So it's an interesting story. You reckon?
Yeah, he'll follow Wayne Bennett. If Wayne Bennett is the one that got him back to league, then he will follow Wayne Bennett to the Rabbits. I think he will. Yeah, I think he'll just back. He didn't give a fuck what he said at the Bulldogs to get out. Oh, my bad. But right, he just wanted to straight backflip. And I don't blame him. The doggies were in a bit of a hole last year. He didn't want to be part of the solution, though. So, again, that's his ego. He doesn't want to do it when it's tough. He just wants the flash and look good like when he was at the Panthers.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing is like, and to add on top of that too, have you heard the new news? I'm just dropping this on you now because it's only really coming out, but there's all talks that Ewan Aiken's probably going to make his way to the South Sydney Rabbitohs and follow Wayne Bennett. We've just seen Jeremy Marshall-King re-sign with the Dolphins too. How many other players do you reckon will take with Wayne Bennett, like he will take over to the Rabbitohs? And what can you really see with the Rabbitohs next year? There's going to be a lot of like, if Ewan Aiken comes there, like that's an edge back roller they can really fill in that they've probably been missing for a little bit now. Like your thoughts on Ewan Aiken, but also like, do you reckon Wayne will pull a lot of those Dolphin boys over to the Rabbits?
I think players definitely love to follow a coach. I know I even do. Like I say every year, I'm not going to play footy, and then a certain guy will pull like, yo, I'm coaching. Do you want to come play? By all means, I'm down there. So our coach does have a big influence over players, especially someone like Ewan Aiken, who's probably playing his best footy under someone like Wayne Bennett. So I think he will have a bit of a pull. And I think Ewan Aiken is a good signing for the Bunnies because we're seeing how good Keon's playing through the middle. I think they'll look at using him through the middle more next year along the sides of Jairo back to the middle. And that will really free up that edge spot to be Ewan Aikens. And I think that's a really good signing if the Rabbits do pull that off. And then to me, if I was Wayne Bennett, I'd really be trying to get Katoa over to the Rabbits if Bennett's going to be at the Bunnies long term. I know he's recently re-signed with the Dolphins. I'm not too sure how many years that was, but maybe once he's done to go to the Bunnies. But I think he's happy in Redcliffe because he was on to Jeremy Marshall's Kings back to re-sign with them. So I think Katoa has a lot of influence over that Dolphin side at the moment, and a lot of guys want to be around him. So, and I know we just went from the Rabbits to the Dolphins, but they're kind of both there right now. We're touching on both of them. So
yeah, coincides, bro. Definitely coincides. And like, I think what helps keeping Isaiah Katoa at that club too is having the Tongan head coach of, that's going to take over after Wayne Bennett. This name escapes me. It's been a long day, guys. It's been a long day. But I'll quickly get to the comments too, guys, because I know a lot of people are talking about. Thank you so much for all supporting my little, spiel on SEN Radio, guys. Like, it's been amazing. Like, those boys there, Anthony Gelling and Sammy Hewitt, like, amazing people. Before the show, we were talking about just going back and forth, and they're just like, they're humans. Like, everyone's humans, you know what I mean? They're awesome. Like Anthony Gelling, I won't tell you, but the way he does his sound checks, like the funniest bloke ever, bro. He's so awesome. But here's one from Jose. Heard you on SEN League Ash. Awesome, bro. What's your ideal path? Journalist, panelist, or work for a club? Honestly, all those would be incredible for me. Like, I'm not I don't really have. Overall, I do want to expand on like maybe YouTube and making it a full-time thing or anything like that, or like making myself a little brand in itself. But if like to open up doors for that, like if I were to become a journalist, I'd love to do that. Work for a club, I'd love to do that. Like it'd be awesome. It would hurt me a little bit more. I'd only really want to pick the Warriors really, and I'd have to move to New Zealand and stuff. But yeah, like honestly, bro, it's all up in the air, and hopefully, I just got to still grow. You know what I mean? I've rewatched it, bro. Like I haven't told you this yet, but I rewatched and re-listened to it about 3 or 4 times. And I do this to myself all the time. Like, it's just a thing I do. But like little things that I do, little things that I say, I still got a long way to go. I still got a lot of growth to go. So, but thank you for all the support, guys. Like, I really do appreciate it. And yes, Christian Wolf, that is the coach for the Dolphins coming up in the future. Sorry, guys. This is the second time in a row we're doing Down Unders, bro, and I'm forgetting names left, right, and center. Yeah. But yeah, have you heard my SEN thing yet, bro?
But I haven't had a chance to check it out this afternoon. I've also been busy. There was a shooting, down a street down. So I've just been trying to be a bit nosy. Yeah, bro. Yeah. So I've been a bit nosy trying to check that out and get the goss on that. Joys of living in Cabo, I guess.
Bro, guys, if you don't know where we are in the hood. We live in the hood. But hopefully all the work that we're doing together will get us out of the hood, guys. So feel free to get us out of the hood. That's crazy. I didn't know that. That's so hectic.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. It's so interesting.
Good old Caboolture, man. That's where obviously Trindle will come from.
It was a police officer shooting. So look, that's a lot better. It's not just junkies attacking junkies. So
shooting is a shooting, bro.
Yeah. Police respond here, all right?
Free the bro. Free the bro. All right, guys, and the last little topic before we're going to run into a little bit of Origin chat, and then we're going to go through our mid-season report cards, is Lockie Galvin has committed to the Tigers. I've just pulled up a news story too, bro. I don't know if you know this, but Lockie Galvin actually saying that Andrew Johns' comments actually swayed him a little bit to stay at the Tigers. Obviously, Andrew Johns is like, I don't understand why players don't look at like being the main man at a club and digging them out of a hole to where they were, like, you know what I mean? Like being that main guy and creating a legacy that way instead of going to a club and winning a premiership and all that. And I think this is a sport-wide issue as well in a way. Like you have like the likes of LeBron, when he was at the Cleveland Cavaliers, they weren't doing anything for him. He was supposed to be the child there. Couldn't get over the hump. Went to Miami, brought the team together. It's been happening in NBA for years. I think the NRL is becoming a lot like that too sometimes. You get the boys together. You want to make these big clubs together. But it's so good to see someone so young, Lockie Galvin, change his mind a little bit. I do think that his manager had a lot to play with this, if you've heard a lot about that too, bros. But what's your thoughts on Lockie Galvin staying at the Tigers?
No, I haven't heard too much about his manager, but I definitely think that the media has gotten to him. You don't want to be
Mm,
18 and fucking everyone slagging you about not
yeah.
honoring your contract. And we touched on it last week, and as I said, there's nothing that shits me more. So I think
Yeah.
definitely Andrew John's coming out and commenting on that, and his comments saying, about being the main man. And Lockie Galvin's probably not a dumb kid. He's probably thinking,
Yeah.
"Oh, down the line I might play Origin." So fuck, who
Yeah.
better to have on my side than Andrew Johns? So I think for sure that's a smart move for him, and respect. As I said last week, these guys need to honor their contracts, and he's doing just that. So I think he will
Mm,
get so much benefit out of playing next to Jerome Luai as well. Say what you
yeah.
want about the man. He's won 3 premierships in a row in a great club. And
Mm-hmm.
he's really leading the way without Nathan Cleary there. So he's going to be a great 7, and Lockie Galvin will learn so much under him and Benji Marshall. So, yeah,
Bro.
great news.
I'm really excited to see, now when someone like Jerome Luai comes to the Tigers and see that combination of him and Lockie Galvin. There's so many little layers to the story because I've been kind of watching over it. Like there's the Isaac Moses part of the story. Isaac Moses is the manager of Lockie Galvin, and he's notable for being a guy that hunts for money in different clubs. Like there's a lot of stories about him, the ties with Manly and what he's done with Manly and stuff like that. When you have managers like that, it's really unfortunate being such a young player, having a manager that's probably going to hunt around, and really it damages your name. But it's also the manager works for you too. You know what I mean? You got to have even the parents got to come out and say listen, we got to work it both ways here. We can't just be hunting for the money. He needs to develop. There's the other side of the story too, bro. And what's your thoughts on this too? Having the Tigers, so Shane Richardson, Bud Sullivan. There's a lot of talk on Bud being shopped around, and he was being shopped around to England, so many different other clubs there. That's the reason why, a lot of the speculation, the reason why Richardson went to England in the Super League. There's the opposite side of this too, where the clubs sometimes can do the dirty on the players that they've signed him to a 4-year contract, and Bud's actually stead up and said, "Nah, I'm staying here. This is what I want to play for, and I want to prove myself to you guys." But the Tigers just "Nah, we don't want you anymore, bro. We paid too much for you. We want you out." What's your thoughts on that side of way of things as well? Just to round out the argument a little bit.
Yeah, it's unfortunate when it goes the other way, and I can understand why players somewhat don't have the loyalty, especially when a club is renowned for shopping players around. They're gonna, get their nose out of joint if they have a couple of bad games that they might be shopped around next. So I think, yeah, definitely, it's hard. It would be hard being a player, but at the end of the day, they are paid the big bucks to perform. And at the end of the day, if you're not performing for that business, they're going to performance manage you or try and shop you out. So, it is a bit unfortunate, but unfortunately that is business. And they probably brung over Bud Sullivan before they signed Jerome Luai. And I think once they got him coming, they're like, oh shit, next year we don't need, Sullivan, unfortunately. So, and I think that's that's what's there. So.
Yeah, well, you're right, bro. It also kind of ties into the thing. It's the West Tigers, right? The West Tigers business-wise probably don't do the right things either. You know what I mean? They're still learning to get everything on track. You probably don't see... You've seen the Roosters recently do that, which was a major surprise. Angus Crichton. But they're not the Roosters, you know what I mean? But, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They tried to do that with that Angus Crichton and Dave Fafita, and they put Angus Crichton nose, way out and said, I'm supposed to be the guy. And apparently on rumours, I've just heard today that they're looking at actually re-signing Angus Crichton. He's going to be getting paid probably the 800K mark, which is what Fafita was getting looked at too. So shout out to Angus Crichton because he's been playing hard for that money too. I feel like he definitely deserves that. 100%. But you don't usually see big clubs do this sort of thing where they just overload, bang, bang. They bought Bud, they bought Latu Fainu, they bought Aiden Caesar. All these boys to put them all, put them all in one box, and the next minute, Lockie Galvin and then Aiden Caesar end up being your halves partner. Latu Fainu's completely missed out, and Bud Sullivan's completely missed out, even though Bud's played a couple of games here, but he looks like he's going to be on the outer the way everything looks. So it's not the best clubs don't do business that way. And I think the Tigers are slowly going to learn how to do their business in time. And I think that's why it's not good on Lockie Galvin's side, but it's also not good on the Tigers side, the way they're done both their their
100%.
ends of the bargain. You know what I mean? That's what happens with some of the lower tier clubs, and that's why it's good to always do business on both ends of the field. Like, you know, understand that what's coming and what's going to go. So I don't know. That's the reason why the Tigers are somewhat in the position that they are, and they get talked about in the media all the time in situations like this.
Yeah, definitely. They got sponsors to keep
All right.
happy as well. You know, you want to invest money into a club that's performing well, so they got the pressure to quickly turn results around. And if they're not, well, then there's got to be answers paid for. And the guys up the top are going to try and keep their job. It's like, all right, who's not performing in these players? Who's chewing up my money, doing nothing for the club? Move them on, move them on. Bang, bang, bang. So it's hard when the tough is tough. There's the spotlight's on you. You got to perform. And unfortunately, the Tigers are still struggling to do that. But I think we will start to see that turn leading into next year. I hope they have a good back end of the season to really prep for that next year.
Yeah, 100%, bro. And before we leave the Tigers too, I'll spring a quick one on you. Your thoughts around Leichhardt, and obviously all the talk around Leichhardt now getting the, I think, was it $40 million or $40 million upgrade or whatever.
One or the other, something like that.
It was $40 million upgrade. What's your thoughts overall? Having, like, you know, you got Belmore, obviously, as a Doggies fan, and that, like, all these little stadiums like that have so much history. Like, should they have stuck around with Leichhardt, or should they have just gone, nah, let's move on to a core? It's just all the room in that.
Nah, definitely stick with Leichhardt. I love nothing more than seeing a packed stadium and instead of a half-packed core stadium. Don't get me wrong, the big games, you know, what the Doggies and the Eels did at a core stadium was unreal, but that's not every game. That is definitely not every game. Whereas you see, like, you know, your Wynn Stadium, Belmore, Four Pines, you know, Bluebet, Leichhardt, you know, it's just unreal, that atmosphere for fans. You know, it's much better. Or it's much better for the game, you know. I know it's not better for the NRL because there's not more seats to fill, but, you know, it's an experience. You know, you don't have every game there, like they don't, but definitely keep the ground for, you know, 4 or 5 games a year, whatever it is.
Yeah, 100%. And you just got to see the boys set up the mudslide there over the weekend too. Do you get to see that?
Nah, I didn't. As I told you, I wasn't watching no Tigers-Titans game, so...
That's right. You're playing your own footy game, just tearing up the fields out there, mate.
Oh, no, definitely not.
Bro, crazy. Like, like the boys set up, everyone set up these, you know, the traffic, the barricades and that. Got them down the line, a mad mudslide in the middle of Leichhardt, bro, at a football game. Cuts are sliding down like the mud fields, bro. Like, that's on a different level. But
you have to entertain yourself at a Tigers game, mate. I'm telling you, they're not that fun to watch.
And that game was a complete bludger for that. Actually, it became entertaining for what type of game it was. Like, the Titans 9 line breaks, and they couldn't come out with the win against the West Tigers. And the West Tigers find a way to win something. Like, I don't know. That game was just shambles,
It definitely wasn't Appy Coruscant's goal kicking that won them that game. Let's be real. You see that, Shocker? That's a review it if it went over. I didn't see that highlight, and it didn't go over, and he was basically in front of the post. You see that one?
I don't think I did. I think I missed it.
Oh, bro. They had to review it. They gave it, and then I think they took it off him. Like a goal kick, not a try. They had to review a try.
It's just a bludger of a game, bro. Like, we knew it was going to be a bludger. It ended up being a bludger. I ended up catching the mid to back end of that game from memory. And yeah, I think I caught the start of it, and then I went around doing other stuff because, as we know, it was going to be a bludger. And like, I saw the Titans run in pretty quickly, and I was like, oh, the Titans are probably going to put 50 on them. And I come back and I'm just like, bro, what the hell? I ended up checking the stats and seeing like little bits and pieces. I was like, what is happening? But makes sense, doesn't it? Makes sense.
It does. It was expected.
The spoon bowl, bro. The spoon bowl. We'll touch on these teams a little bit later on. But as soon as we'll get through our origin prediction, our origin thoughts, bro, before we won't predict it until next week. We'll leave that up to next week's show and that. But our preview, our thoughts on both our team lists here. So touching on New South Wales, no Birdo, but you end up getting Cam Murray in, Trell, Moses, you know, all your new faces in there. Obviously, Cam McGuinness has dropped out of the side to be in the reserves there too. What's your thoughts overall from the Blue squad, top to bottom? And what would you have rather seen maybe with the reserves? Like, what's your thoughts overall?
The changes to the run-on team is pretty much exactly what I thought would happen. The 3 changes to that run-on team. So Edwards, Latrell, Moses. That's pretty stock standard. I expected that. I was pretty shocked with Cam McInnes dropping out. I thought he was absolutely unreal in that Origin game, despite the difficulty that they had. So, he made 42 tackles off the top of my head, 0 missed in 25 minutes. So I think he was a little bit hard done by, and I'm glad that they didn't drop him out of the team completely, so he can still soak up that experience. And looking at it, I do understand, you want a guy like Cam Murray in there, and I don't know who else you would have potentially dropped out to keep Cam McInnes in there as well. But for me, maybe Hamulin, maybe drop out and bring in Barnett onto that bench would have been maybe something I've done there, and then have, Cam McInnes as your 18th man. Not that, Okolawatu was bad, but just I think, Mitch Barnett offers a lot more either through that middle or on that edge. What are your thoughts on that?
Nah, I wouldn't fight back on any like Mitch Barnett finding his way on that bench. Like, obviously, as a Maroons fan, if I put my Maroons jersey on, I'm like, nah, keep him out of the side. But as a Warriors fan, I'd be like, bro, like, get him out there. We know how special he is for us, and we even saw it like over the weekend against the Melbourne Storm. Like, he was scored to try to almost get us back into that game. Like, we end up making a 2-point margin there before we got frustrated with penalties and all that. We'll touch on that another time or whatever. But he's just got that dog in him. He's got that. He's an Origin player. I know that 100%. That term gets thrown around so much, but like, he is that guy. Like, I just know that if you put Mitch Barnett starting on an edge, play him anywhere, he's going to do a job for you in the Blues. So completely agree. Like, I think the only qualms that I have with this team is like the rotations, and it's still like, the amount of, so obviously you got Isaiah Yeo, Cam Murray, they'll be playing for the middle of that 13, maybe rotation there, whether that rotation happens. But then you start thinking of like Liam Martin, Angus Crichton, when you got Olakau'atu off the bench, like one of those boys would probably end up pushed to the middle as well. And then Spencer Linu's got to have some time in the middle there too. Like, you know what I mean? He's got to have a good 20 to 30 because I felt like he was one of your most impactful players in that last Origin game. So I'm curious on that, because there's ways that you could make it work, but I feel like it's a deficit too. And again, like Jake Trbojevic is a big one that got noted, like only 29 minutes, 25 minutes in that last Origin game, being the captain. Yeah. I feel like it's a similar thing could happen this time without the whole thing of like being slow in the middle. I think it's more of like just seeing some of the firepower you have on this bench and the rotations you're probably going to have to get through out of all of them. I think that Jakey is like the weakest link out of two, but what's your thoughts on that?
Look, I definitely don't think Jakey's the weakest link. I think Jakey's great, especially through that middle. He could play 80 if any HIA's coming up. That's something you got to remember. If there's a HIA that from not an illegal action, you don't get to activate that 18th man. Then you might be forced to play big minutes. Well, who's to say Spencer doesn't have another head knock and fail this time? Then you're down.
That's true.
You need a front row to play 80. And as good as Payne Haas is, he probably can't play 80 at Origin, whereas someone like Jake Trbojevic could play those bigger minutes. But I dare say that what the Blues will do is Spencer and Haas will basically just interchange each other. When Haas comes off for that 25, 30-minute game, 30 minutes into the game mark, Spencer will go on for his 10 before half, maybe play 10, 15 into that second half before Haas comes back and rounds out the game. As for Trbojevic, I think what they'll do there is, maybe move up Isaiah Yeo into front. I reckon Isaiah Yeo will start, by the way. I don't think he'll start on the bench. I think he'll start this game. Murray will be off the bench. And when Murray comes on, they'll bring off Trbojevic, push Isaiah up front. They played Liam Martin through the middle a bit last game, so that's a potential option as well when they want to bring on Hamulin. And then for Connor Watson, I think he will just really interchange with Robson. I think they'll tell Robson to be a lot more active, to empty that gas tank, knowing that they've got that backup on the bench. So I can see how they will play those subs, and you do got to remember that potential HIAs could happen that aren't illegal action that brings on that 18th man. So and I think it's probably a good side, but again, I would probably bring on Barnett onto that bench instead of Olakau'atu, just for that bit more flexibility.
Yeah, 100%, bro. And quickly, before we start touching on a little bit more, we got Jose here, bro. The bro is wearing a mean Bulldogs jersey. Can we get a quick look, mate? Can you do a little show for the boys? Do you have pants on? First of all, don't jump up if you don't have pants on.
I was going to say, do they want the jersey on or off? Or nah, this one's. I'm not too sure what year this one's from, or what it was for. I don't know if it was an Indigenous round or if it was a Auckland Nines one. I don't think it was a Nines one, as it's got a premiership badge on it, not an Auckland Nines one. But yeah, I'm not too sure what year it was. It says an 80-year anniversary one, maybe. But yeah, I'm not too sure when I actually acquired this one. I've got a few there now. So yeah, I can't remember the last time I've brought one. I'm actually waiting on my 204 anniversary premiership one. So I'm waiting for that to come.
Still waiting.
Yeah, bro, 12-week lead time, bro. It's almost like the Warriors season last year. You couldn't get Warriors merch anywhere because it all just flew off the fucking shelf. Now it's the doggies, like bro. It's our year.
It is, bro. You're running that same timeline. It's really doing the same thing. But
they say we win every 20 yees. Every 20 years, apparently the doggies win.
Don't feed into that narrative, bro.
1984, bro. Yeah.
I've seen it go around that narrative. I've seen it go around. But before we touch on, because there's a couple of Queensland questions here too, guys. But finishing off, like Nico Hines, like, you know, your thoughts on Nico Hines? Will we see him in Origin again? Like, you feel for him? Like, you understand obviously why Mitchell Moses is in there. Like, talk to the people. Like, what's your thought on Nico being a Blues fan?
Oh, look, I love Nico Hines. Nico Hines is great for our game. He's probably one of the best halfbacks at club level. But Origin's a different beast. You know, sometimes when the game doesn't go your way, you got to get down and gritty. And I don't think Nico has that in him. And we've seen that with the Sharks as well. Like, when it's not going their way, he doesn't go missing, but he can't pull something out of the hat. He doesn't have that grit. He doesn't have that momentum-changing kick in him to get, you know, on the front foot. You know, I still have doubts that Moses even has that in him, but Moses defensively is good, and he'll do the job while, you know, Nathan Cleary's not there. I think he's definitely your best backup option. But I feel for Nico. I just feel like Nico, he doesn't like the down and dirty, unfortunately. He's a fucking outstanding player. Don't get me wrong, and I love him and I feel for him. I really do. But I don't think we'll see him in Origin again. And I don't think he will even want to answer that call if for whatever reason they needed him again, knowing how they do him. So, that's my thoughts on that. And for me, I feel like I don't know what the Blues are doing by having Luke Keary on the extended bench instead of Matt Burton.
That's a big one.
Matt Burton is your potential future Origin player, whereas Luke Keary is retiring at the end of the year. And I guarantee if they had an injury to the halves leading into camp, they're not going to bring him in. They'll probably call Nico Hines back. So what's the point of having Luke Keary there? And I know that, you know, there's a bit of he could give some leadership in camp and stuff, but that's what Johns is for. That's what the coaches are for.
Exactly.
So I feel silly about that, but I'll take Burton for the doggies this week and hopefully, you know, beat the Roosters.
Well, he definitely is. The Roosters, bro, like, you feel like a team, like, they still have like Origin outs, but like they still got Teddy on deck. They got Sammy Walker on deck and that. It's obviously good to have Matty Burton there for the doggies this weekend too. But before we jump on to, I keep saying before, but Latrell Mitchell, bro, it's probably the scariest, man. Like, as a Queensland fan, you just know it's the type of guy that will step up in the moment, do something out of nothing. And like, the record he has in Origin 2 is like incredible. Like, what's your thoughts on Latrell? Where do you think he will shine more so? And when we discussed it, because we discussed it before, I think it's going to be Valentine Holmes defending on him over the weekend. Do you see Latrell really stepping up in the big moment and turning, is it MCG? He can't change that name to Latrell CG, can he? Like, you know, Latrellians and all that sort of stuff. But it's definitely set the stage for him to be the hero. What's your thoughts on Latrell Mitchell coming into this game?
Look, Latrell doesn't shy away from a big game, and I think his role will be pretty simple. And I think we'll see the best out of Latrell. We always do in the centers. I still believe center is probably his best position. And I think maybe when the Rabbits get, you know, is it Brock Gray or Jai Gray back on deck? I reckon he potentially, if he gets a good preseason under him, I wouldn't surprise me if they play Latrell in the centers next year. But for Origin, I think that's great. With that said, you know, I did see a quick little news article that Moses said he's going to unlock Mitchell. And I'm like, he's on the opposite side of the field to you. So, like, that one had me worried. So I don't know if Mitch Moses is going to have that free roaming or if they're going to potentially play him on the right side, which is a bad move in my opinion, because then he's going to be defending the hammer. And for me, if I'm Madge, you're going to have Stephen Crichton on the hammer. You know,
Hammer,
Latrell will
yeah.
get burnt on the outside in defense if he's defending on the hammer. And I think they
Yeah.
really target Valentine Holmes in defense by having Latrell on him. So
Yeah.
I think he'll be good. You know, he won't do a lot of the dirty work coming out of the back end, but you know, you got Toto, Edwards, and Lomax for that type of work. I think Latrell will be that 10 out, 15 out, attack the short side, you know, and then it's going to open up for Toto and Angus Crichton. So really keep an eye on those because they're going to buy in on Latrell for sure.
Yeah, there's a couple of big things with Latrell. Is like, number one, he's the best left side center in the game. Like, you know, Joey Manu, right side, you can throw him up there and all that. I don't think there's another left side center that can do the things that Latrell Mitchell can do, especially like when you're thinking on the big stage too. Like in the game right now, Latrell is that guy. So if he's going on the right side, that's a major X. Like, you know, why would you do that? Especially when Stephen Crichton is possibly one of the best. Like, he's obviously, like, right for me, probably top 3 or 4 right side center in the game at the moment. So, but the one thing for, like, as a Maroon fan, we need to stay squeaky clean, especially within the, like, you know, the 30, you know, defending our line, that sort of moment there too, because I feel like that's sort of moments where Latrell can really bust us open. The things that used to worry me there, like he's got Brian Toto most likely on the outside of him there too. So Brian's got speed, but he's not like a fox. So like, you know, from the other end of the field, I don't see it being a threat of like just opening up, bang, full field try sort of thing, like kind of like Latrell and the Fox were in the day. But when I see it close to the line, especially if you think about like off the scrum, probably play like 2 pass out, just give it to Latrell. Those are the moments we need to get up in his face as quickly as possible because Latrell will do, like, he would do crazy things to Valentine Holmes one-on-one there, bro. Like, we're talking right side fend. We're talking flick passes out to Toto in the wing. Like, he's got the kicking game under him. Like, yeah, the guy's an absolute freak. And he worries me as a Maroons fan coming into this because that's the one area where it's just like, we need to shut down on him as quickly as possible because you give him any sort of confidence, because Latrell is a confidence player. He's a moments player. He will take the moment. He'll take the moment. So that's a big thing for me.
100%. I couldn't agree more.
All right. Well, moving on to that, bro, we're going to go over to the Maroon squad in general. So no Cobbo, no Hopgood due to injury. And then we're looking at the reserves too. We got Gagai, Lukey, Liero. And then on our bench to cover Cobbo and Hopgood, we got Gafusi and we got Cape War, Mr. Cape War himself, Cape Well. What's your thoughts overall when you see this as a Blues fan? When you first saw it, what was your first honest reaction? When you first saw those 2 names, you're kind of like, ooh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Look, don't get me wrong. I straight away, I thought, you know, they're going to be lacking, you know, the leg speed. They're going to be lacking, you know, the age factor. But it's Origin, bro. That don't mean shit. You know, Queensland do such a good job at slowing the game down to their pace that those boys have been there, done that. And that's exactly why I think Billy's brung them in. You know, it's a pressure-free situation for them. Why not bring in guys that have been there, done that to get the job done potentially? It's going to be a bit of a weird rotation, but yeah, I think it'll be fine. I think Sewer, you know, will probably come off, and that's where Cape Well will slide in, is to that edge role. We've seen him cover center position before. So yeah, it did start off with, you know, shit, when the subs come on, the Blues should roll straight through. But I think it's going to be a little bit more than that. They're defensively sound, in my opinion, Capewell and Kafusi. And I think, you know, why not play a defensive type game if you're defending the lead? It's a pressure-free situation. You don't need to go out there and score points. There's no pressure. And I think that's what Billy's done. He's a very smart man. And before you bring it up, they dropped Selwyn Colbo. Call it dropped, call him injured. You pick it, you know. I've seen Corey Parker come out and say he's not injured. He's fit. He got through the Broncos game, ended up with 200-something meters. He didn't understand the dropping. So I don't know who you believe there. I think Corey Parker's got a bit to do with the Broncos club still, but, you know, Billy Slater wouldn't have done it for a reason, and I'm sure he's spoke to Selwyn Colbo about his approach with his game. So I don't know. To me, I feel like he just had a really bad game, and you could buy into something if something was going on. And I think maybe Billy thought, with the size of the Blues bench, that he thought, all right, I needed that middle this time. And he's probably praying that something doesn't happen again, like game 1, in game 2.
Yeah, Yep. I think like overall, like I think Spencer Leniu changed a lot of the thoughts around last game too. And I think, having Felice Kafusi on the bench is a big one there. He's probably going to be the guy to try and shut that down as quickly as possible. You probably end up seeing that middle rotation of like, I'll say that as soon as Spencer comes on, you'll see Felice come on and he'll probably shut him down as quickly as possible. Expect that to heat up too, because Spence won't take a back foot either. Like it's going to be a banger of a game from the middle. I can't wait to see that. The Capewell one, as a Warriors fan, it confused me a little bit because as a Warriors fan, like with the start of the season, he was okay, but being a signing that was like had a big name, we were all thinking that he was going to be the guy to take us to the next level sort of thing. And we didn't get to see that. I would say that he was a part of probably our best defensive period before the complete fall off with the Dragons game. Before that, we're holding teams to like 15.6 points per game and stuff like that. We even had a period of holding teams to I think it's 8.6 off the top of my head without having notes there next to me saying that. But he defensively, he'll have the stats of like missed tackles, but his cover is probably the big thing for him. He doesn't stop moving, and he always, the cover tackles, the big moments, he always steps up in those moments. But it was a confusing one because I was like, I yet to see him in form. He's only just come back off injury. Like, it's an interesting one. And then you had like, all the talk around Selwyn Cobbo and how he was going to use Selwyn Cobbo. And I was so curious to see him do it in this game and be like, all right, this is a game now where it's like all the talk around how he might use Selwyn Cobbo if there was no injury. Like, we're going to see this, like, you know what I mean? But we don't see it now. So it makes me wonder too, like, did he maybe have plans too for Kurt Capewell in game one, but due to injury, that's the reason why he didn't get selected in the first game? Like, do you think that a little bit? Or do you more so think of like Cobbo, as soon as he went back to the Broncos, he had that injury, that error-riddled game over the weekend. Do you reckon that also played a factor as well?
No, I think it's more so the fact that Luke Capewell is now available, and I think you probably did hit the nail on the head with the way that New South Wales bench made an impact on that game with 12 men, what they could potentially do when they've got a full squad on. So I think that was a bit of Billy's thinking behind that. To leave someone out of camp, I think that's also potentially something to do with the hole that the Broncos are in. Him trying to find some rhythm for the Broncos. And I think he knew in that game one that potentially something would happen around that area of, a back or a key player like Reece Walsh. So they wanted to have that cover. And I think, someone like Luke Capewell, you touched on it, mate. He doesn't stop moving his feet in defense. He's got that origin grit and that he will slide straight in and do his job. And I just seen a comment saying I would have had Fafita. I probably wouldn't have. The work ethic that someone like Luke Capewell is going to give you, and the drive that he has over someone like David Fafita, who's going to give you that maybe that X factor look, but other than that, not a lot. And that's not to say David Fafita is a bad player. I think he's a gun. He's probably potential is unreal. But I think especially because he sat out last week due to injury, that's why Fafita wasn't looked at. Whereas I think Luke Capewell will do that job, especially defensively sound. And I think Billy's basing this game on defense. You're defending not only a 1-0 lead in the series, but he's seen, like you said, what Spencer Leniu did through the middle, and he wanted that bigger natural body to come on and really try and minimize that. So that's why, like you said, Kafusi is there for me. So that's my thoughts on that. I think Luke Capewell will do an absolute great job for you guys there, and still gives you that benefit of the center role.
You mean Kurt Capewell, don't you? You mean
Yes,
Kurt
Capewell. Sorry. We've been talking about Luke Capewell. Yeah, he's been playing out of Burpengary there, so my bad. I'm pretty sure he's still playing out of Burpengary.
He might be. Talented player.
Yeah. Kurt Capewell, sorry.
Good old Curdy. Well, it's good to see Luke Capewell make it to the Maroon squad anyway. That's good to see.
Fuck.
You fell in that position, bro. Nah, you done well, bro. All good, all good. But other than that, obviously, we could talk about the reserves, but then again, like, I enjoy seeing someone like Helam Lukey in the reserves there, obviously learning around the squad, and, he's got a ton of potential, this kid. Like, he's definitely probably good to get into the squad. Trent Liero was a really interesting one for me as a player. Like, I think that, for me, I've never fully rated, to be honest, Trent Liero. I've just always seen of like, he's he's a good player. I'd never thought he was an Origin type player, but obviously Billy sees all the little things and he's a lot smarter than me and all that. But Dane Gagai as 18th man is the big interesting one. Do you think Gags has any chance to just be a late inclusion to this one in any sort of way?
Nah, I think Dane Gagai is only 18th man in case a HIA send-off happens. That's for me all that is. Or maybe, you know, to tease the fact that they might bring him in for that rivalry against Trell. But I think that is only just that send-off in case a send-off happens, you know, preparing for the worst. And yeah, I think maybe he's brung in as well to maybe do a bit of a job training, you know, Holmes, the outside backs there, potentially on the type of player Latrell is and what kind of look they're going to get. You know, Gags is big, he's strong, and he's got that fend, a bit like Latrell is going to show them. So he might be there to really just give that look. You know, you bring in guys to shadow box and spar with you when you get ready for a fight. Well, it might be the same sort of thing.
That's a smart thing to think about. I did not think about it that way because I was throwing up so many different things in my head. I was like, you know, if we try to run with that look of like, you know, hey, start up there, bro. We're trying to think like Valentine Holmes D'ing up against Latrell Mitchell is obviously going to be the big spot for the Blues in this game. If you think of like just on paper, the way we're going to run out there, I really do think that Val Holmes is the option that just defensively, we know Val steps up in Origin, but it's been noted that many times that he hasn't had his greatest year this year, and it's been the last couple of years. He started being found out in moments he can have real bad defensive lapses. So I was interested to see if Dane Gagai is a late inclusion for Valentine Holmes and push Val to the bench and be the second fullback look of what Cobbo was supposed to be. I had that thought in my head, but again, like I don't know. I don't know if he'll make any real late change. I honestly think that both these squads are probably going to run out what they are on paper, other than maybe the late inclusion, as you said, of Isaiah Yeo for Cam Murray, something like that. Other than that, I think top to bottom, they showed last game, they name on paper, they run out like that. And I think Madge and Billy are both very similar in that sort of way. So, but what's your thoughts on the reserves, bro? Like, you know, what were your thoughts on when you saw the reserve list of Gags, Lukey and Liero?
Again, very smart from Billy. He knows, like you said, Trent Liero is a bit of a, you know, he's a bit of a, what's the word? Like, he's not really there for, you know, shine, flashy. He just does his job. He shows up, does his job. And, you know, Billy Slater's from the Storm system. He knows exactly what Bellamy expects from those Melbourne Storm players, and his expectations wouldn't be much different to Billy's. So he knows that bringing in Trent will be great, not only for the future. You know, he's got aging players that he's picking in Kafusi and Kurt Gatewell. So he's trying to prepare for that future. So, you know, that's not bad at all. Like Lukey and Trent in that reserve bench is great. Get the boys to around it, soak them up in case, you know, there's an injury going into game 3 potentially that, you know, those guys have had a camp now. It's not their first camp going into a potential decider if they need to be dragged in for that game 3. Or, you know, next year, you're looking for next year already. Billy's smart, man. He's committed to that Queensland role as well. So you're going to see him for future to come. So he's trying to prepare his future now. So it's I think that's great. I think Lukey is definitely great back rower, and Trent, well, he's started in the back row, and I'm pretty sure he's moved to the middle these days. But I think they're both great potential Origin players down the line. So I think Billy's just trying to bleed them right now. So.
Nah, agreed, bro. Agreed. All right, so we'll park the Origin chat and we'll leave it till next Wednesday, guys. Please make sure you tune in before State of Origin. Me and Brody are going to go through all our thoughts overall. We're going to have another week to stew over this and try to figure things out, ways that we're going to attack in that. And, of course, Brody's going to be getting around the multis and stuff. There's going to be some really nice value, especially in Origin at the MCG. So do tune in for that. But let's get to our mid-season report cards before we get into our Punters Paradise, bro. First team off the rank, we got the Brisbane Broncos. So a couple of stats here. Obviously, attacking-wise, they are sitting 8th in the competition right now with 23.9 points per game. And then conceding, they are, you know, defensively, they're 8th as well in the competition, which is surprising. So 8 and 8, you know, conceding 21.3 points per game. What's your thoughts overall on the Broncos this season? Have they hit their marks? Is there reasons why they haven't been the Broncos we all expected? What's your thoughts on the Broncos so far?
Yeah, I think you pretty much... Yeah, the numbers don't lie with that. So they're 7 and 7. You know, 7 wins, 7 losses, and they've only had the one bye so far. So, they get another bye this week. So that gives them those extra points, makes it look a little bit better for them. They've had excuses. Adam Reynolds obviously is the biggest one. And then Reece Walsh in the recent weeks. But with that said, they've only lost to probably two teams that they probably should have beat in recent weeks, which is the Titans and the Rabbits. Other than that, they're losing to teams like, the Storm, Roosters twice, Sharks, Panthers. They're all top four teams. So, they've had a tough run, a really tough run so far. They've had probably the strongest start to the season, the Broncos. So they shouldn't be too disheartened with how they're going. And I touched on it last week. I'm pretty sure that if the Broncos, make that 8, you don't want to be coming up against them in finals with the X factor that they've got. They will find form. Unfortunately, the season start has been bad. But again, there's excuses, and their strength of schedule is probably one of the strongest. So to be 7-7 is not that bad.
Yep. Do you think Kurt Capewell has been a massive loss for them? I think there's been a couple of periods there where I really felt like Kurt Capewell would have helped them in that period. But do you agree that they're probably more so looking at the future now? Pierre Cora, he's got a ton of potential. What's your thoughts on that sort of move there with Kurt Capewell leaving the Broncos?
I think defensively, it's been a big loss for them, and that's where they're leaking a lot of points is down that left edge with Ezra Mann, and that's where Kurt Capewell was. So, defensively, I think, definitely that was a big part of it. And to me, Jordan Ricky hasn't really put on that jersey to say, I'm the new main man. I'm going to lead the engine room from this edge. So it's kind of been left to Paddy and Haas. Okay. So I think, definitely Capewell is a bit of a miss there, especially defensively. So,
looking through the games that they've been through this year, I'd say probably big notable wins. The Cowboys game was a big one. They obviously had Reynolds in that. The kicking game of Reynolds absolutely destroyed the Cowboys in that game, 38-12. Probably their big notable loss. I would say the most recent one with the Titans being out 34 points and the Titans getting over the top 36 points. But from memory, that game, the Titans had Tony Francis I think that was his second game, if not debut. Yeah, people are loving your jersey, brother. It's been the big talk about the show. But their team list had the amount of play, they didn't have any Kieran Foran. They had Chris Randall, Tom Weaver playing in the halves. They had Tony Francis that ended up going off with his shoulder injury. You had Beau Fermor defending in the centers there. And the Broncos, you had Reece Walsh, Selwyn Cobbo, Dean Mariner, Corey Oates, all the big names there other than Adam Reynolds. To lose to the Titans there, I think that was definitely their worst loss of the season. But again, what grade would you put him there? We're going A, B, C, D, and then we'll probably throw in an F at the end of there for just a failure of a season so far. Where would you sit him? Because as you did touch on, they've had a tough draw. They've had a couple of big injuries to a couple of key players. Where would you sit them right now?
I'm going to say C-. In all honesty, like I said, don't panic. Don't jump off the bandwagon, or you guys that jumped on there last year, or all the women that jumped on for the pretty boys. Don't jump off. They're still a good side. They've got plenty of points in them. So, I want to give them a C-. Their defense has been awful. They've lost some games they should have, as we touched on, the Titans and probably the Rabbits. They should have won those games. But, they haven't been, expectation from last year being grand finalists. You would expect a lot more up there. But, they're going to have a really good back end to the season with their strength of schedule being a lot less than what it has been. So you got to bear that in mind. So, C- for me.
Yeah, I like that. I'll probably follow you there. I'll probably give him a solid C. Thinking of how big of a factor Adam Reynolds dropping out is, and he's had a couple of times this year. I think he's been in and out of that lineup, dropping down to Reece Walsh, even though a lot of people believe that, that one person believed that Tristan Saylor was the 5th best fullback in the league at that period.
God. Yeah,
that was one of the craziest takes I've ever heard, bro. Oh, man.
He played 2 NRL games at that stage, and they were like, top 5 fullback right now. And I'm like, come on, bro.
It's what the media does best, bro. It's what the media does best. But what I would say with the Broncos is they have, you'd see throughout the team, it's a quick fix. It's just whether the Broncos are willing to get back to that. And for me, it's the big thing of cover defense, scramble defense, and just get through your sets before you start playing football. They have a forward pack that's possibly one of the best forward packs in the league. Payne Haas, Paddy Carrigan, just to name those two, right? like that is like one of the best like two combination there in the league. You got Paddy Carrigan. That's probably, for me, I would have Paddy as, it's probably a crazy take, but the best 13 in the league. I think he's the best lock in the competition right now. You don't think so? Not
top
a fan?
top three. But I won't say best.
Give me top three.
I can't go past someone like Isaiah Yo, premierships.
Yeah, Yo is good. Yo is good.
Yeah. Paddy's great.
And you got Payne Haas, who like talent-wise and just the body of what he is, he's the prop. You know what I mean? He's the best prop. So they don't play through them enough to get into field position, like especially when they're down on points. They don't get back to a simple game plan of kicking to corners, run for your forwards, get into field position before they start throwing the football, and they rely a lot on their talent on their outside backs of like Ezra Mam and all those boys in the back. So it's a simple fix. It's just whether the Broncos will get to that. I'm sure when Reece Walsh comes back, like it will unlock things again. They'll probably stay the same sort of side, just Reece, just like wheeling and dealing out the side, and they'll probably just make it work, and it'll just make everything I just said there mean nothing. So
no, you're 100% right, bro. But for the Broncos, for me, they don't like arm wrestle. So if they don't blow a team away early, unfortunately, they're probably going to lose that game. They don't like arm wrestle. They need to suck the momentum out of a team straight away by putting on 2-3 quick tries. Then the game's wrapped up and it turns into a freak show. So it's just, they don't like that arm wrestle. So if you run with them for that first 20, you can normally beat the Broncos. So
Sweet, mate. We'll move on to the Canberra Raiders. So currently sitting 7th in the competition right now. They are 12th for points per game with 20.9, and they are 12th. So second team that's both 12th and 12th, 8th and 8th with the Broncos there, but 12 for points conceded with 25.2 points per game. What's your thoughts on the Raiders? They're such an anomaly because statistically they shouldn't be a top 8 team, but they do it again. They did it last year. I think it was the first team in how long to be a team that has a negative deficit to get into the finals. They might do it again. Would you think they do it again? What's your thoughts on the Raiders?
It's tough to ever comment on the Raiders. You never really see them sign any massive signings, and they again haven't this year. Jamal Fogarty was probably their biggest one, and they've been missing him all season basically. I think he played the first 6 weeks.
He played against us. That was round 3. I'll probably just check with you. Probably
something like that
the last time. Yeah.
But with that, I don't know. It's tough for Canberra. They just find a way to get it done. Like 12th and 12th attacking and defensively, they shouldn't be sitting where they're sitting on the ladder. But they just find a way. They get the job done, and they've had some they've had some games where they've beat some teams that they shouldn't have, but they're definitely beating all the teams that they should. So they're only losing to teams that they should be losing to. So just for me, I think the Raiders is a B+ season. It's so far so good, 7-6 and 2 buys. I know that's not a lot different from the Broncos, but the expectation and where they finished last year, the players they've got. Canberra's doing this with 2 young halves and one that they've molded into a half overnight. They've gone through 3 fullbacks. So it's tough, but I think the Raiders are having a pretty good season. So B+ for me.
Yeah, it's Ricky seems to just do this sometimes. I don't know, like he just seems to get the best out of certain players, and like they just have a gritty culture there. I'd say notable wins this year. You had the 41-8 victory over the Parramatta Eels. I think that's probably their big win, a big moment from memory. Just seeing here, Jamal Fogarty did play in that game, and I think that's what that is 5 rounds in. And probably a big notable loss is definitely the Sharkies. But they, again, like as you said, like the Sharkies are a team that is definitely better than the Raiders. So you expect it, right? Like 40-0 though is a big one. You could possibly say the recent one with the Cowboys game, 34-16, possibly could have been one of their bad ones as well, where they just didn't turn up. What would you give them also as a rating this year, bro? Like your thoughts, like where were you thinking before the season, and where would you rate them right now?
Oh yeah, B+, bro. Yeah. I touched on that. So before the season, I don't know. I'm always waiting for Canberra to, they're always one that you say, oh yeah, their potential wooden spooners.
I know.
Somehow find their way in the 8. I think they're in the exact same position they were last year. From memory of checking that ladder. So same amount of wins, same amount of losses. So yeah, it's crazy. I think a B+ is a pretty good rating for them. You don't expect them to be a top 4 team. You don't expect them to be in the 8. So a B+ is a fair rating for a team like the Raiders.
Yeah, I'd say for all the things they deal with, I'll run with you there, bro. B plus. Think of like, you know, just changing KO Weeks, someone that came from the Manly Seagulls that just looked like he was a talented footballer. You just wouldn't know where you would put him. Then Ricky puts him at that 7 jersey. Now he's got a kicking game. Now he's got like little things to his game where he's just like,
yeah,
all right, maybe he could be a 7, or Ricky's just molding him into something there. So I feel like, you know, there's been some really big, like, notable step ups. Like Joe Tarpanay's been an underachieved, like not underachieved, but a quiet achiever, if that makes sense. Throughout the season, he's been incredible for them. You know, especially with all the injuries, like Jamal Fogarty going down, that's their experience. You know, Jordan Rapana has been in and out of the side as well, where, as you said, they've had that many different fullbacks throwing out back there. Sebastian Chris has been in and out of the side. So with what they had to deal with, like, they've had a really good season. And again, they're just that team that just, oh, wow, they're in the top 8. How? Like, they're just that sort of side. And it really comes down to their gritty nature. And that's what Ricky Stewart's putting in that squad.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I do see, you know, talents of like signs of potential Jerome Hughes out of KO Weeks. I'm really seeing a lot of similarities there, especially when Hughes originally swapped from fullback to half. And that's kind of what I'm seeing in KO Weeks' game. And that's potential there for him to grow into that and be that. And I think we're seeing little signs of that. And Ethan Strange, well, he's a talent on his own that's coming into
he's a freak.
Into, you know, a potential prime. So he's going to be great. So good signs.
Kid's a freak. So we're going B plus for the Raiders. That means we move over to your club, my brother. We got the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, ranked 6th right now, right? You're a 6th in the competition. 22.5 points per game, so you're 9th right now in attack. I would say your attack is on an upclick currently right now. You're the 2nd best defensive team in the competition right now. 16.2 points per game conceded. Your thoughts around your Bulldogs this season so far?
Look, big improvement from last year. This time last year we were sitting 15th. So and we're, you know, we're sitting at 7-6 and 2 buys. So that's not too bad. We haven't really, I wouldn't say we've beaten a top team. You know, we lost to Melbourne. That was a really close game. We lost to the Panthers. That was a really close game. And we lost to the Sharks, which I think from memory was a little bit of a blowout. Not a blowout, but a decent enough loss. So, you know, and the only win against a really good team was the Roosters. But, you know, you got the Astro of the send-off and the sin bin. And, you know, we still nearly blew that game. So, yeah, but like happy as anything, you know, 2nd best defense. You touched on it. So I couldn't be prouder than anything in the Bulldogs right now from last year's performance where we're at right now. So yeah, pretty happy. As I said, above the Broncos, mate.
That's all that matters to you, bro. That's all that matters. But no, it's awesome to see, bro. Like, especially like, you know, coming into the season. I know, like, for me, I was expecting an uptick in the Bulldogs, but I wasn't expecting like a top 8 sort of look. And there's still a long season left to go, but if you continue on your foundation of your defense, like, it can go wonders. And I'm just checking right now, your average loss margin is 8.8. So that's fairly good. I think there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams in the competition right now that have a single digit, average loss. So you hold teams in really for like close games. But when you start to get a stranglehold, you're one of the better teams actually putting teams away and putting points away with 19.1 average winning margin. So that's a really good stat there as well. So it shows as soon as you get a stranglehold in a contest, you don't just sit there and allow it just to be a 20-22 contest or anything like that. You bring it on like you had like the Titans game 32-0. Obviously the Dragons one was a massive one, 44-12. The Knights 32-2. Like, as soon as you start to get a roll on, you don't stop. And I feel like your attacks come so far, especially with Toby Sexton in there now. Like, Viliami Kikau is starting to show his worth, which was like a bit of concern before this season. You didn't get to see Viliami Kikau in good positions and stuff. People are actually starting to really like Reid Marnie. I felt like Reid Marnie got a lot of criticism last year, and he's doing very similar things this year. It's just different because the team around him's going so well, but he's always had that energy, that grit. Always misses a ton of tackles, but the thing is, like, that missed tackle stat means nothing when he leads the line speed. You know, those are the reasons why he misses tackles, because he gets bumped off. But when you have a guy competitive in the middle, it just brings everyone with him. So the 100%. Big signings of Josh Curran and all that, bro, like, I really do think that the Doggies are in a really good space. But you are right. You're yet to kind of like put it on a really big competition other than the Roosters, and you got a massive chance this weekend against the Roosters, and I'm sure we're going to touch more about that later on. Your grade for the Doggies this year, my man. What's your thoughts?
I'm gonna go. I did have a B, but I'm gonna go a B minus. You know, there's plenty of room for improvement. And I think if we get a win over the Roosters this week, when there's no doubt, there's no Astro, I'm gonna say that will bump us up a few grades just to prove ourselves against a team that we probably shouldn't beat at full strength. But if we do, then I definitely think it's going to put our season up a lot more. But I'm going to say, B minus. So,
I'm going to sway
do not
away.
Bring back Hacho. I'm sorry. You can have him instead if you want him, bro.
No, we aren't having him with the Warriors, bro. No. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. For me, I'm going to go an A. I really do think, because before the season, when I saw your forward pack, like, I love Josh Curran as a signing and all that, but I was still kind of looking at, like, Max King's a good prop, but everyone else other than that is, like, very, you know, obviously Viliami Kikau as well, but everyone else other than that is, like, either, you know, through their first couple of years of first grade this year or very much smaller bodies that a lot of people were thinking were going to get ran through very early in the season, but that's completely flipped its head when you're the second best team at holding a team in for run meters at a game. So, like, you're one of the best possession-based teams and, like, holding teams down their own end. So your forward pack does wonders for the middle defensively. Your halves have finally found a combination there that I do enjoy to watch. When I saw Hutcho there to start with, I was throwing up questions. I was like, I wasn't a fan of Hutcho. Same with Blake Taft to start the season. I was like, Blake Taft just runs a little bit too sideways. He cuts off a lot of space for his outside men, where you got someone now so much more direct with, you know, Connor Tracy. And we saw that the Eels game was a massive one for that. Like, you know, as soon as he was on that edge, was just chopping people apart. So got to be an A for me, bro, especially, you know, from what a lot of people were thinking, especially coming off last year. Stephen Crichton has been a massive tick for yous. Massive tick for yous, bro. But any more on your Doggies, bro, before we move on?
Nah, brother, nah.
Might as well give us another spin of that jersey, because everyone's loving that jersey there. Moving on, bro, we got the Sharkies. So the Sharkies currently sitting in third position. As we all know, like, I'm pretty sure they've had probably the softest draw coming into this year, like overall this season. But currently right now, fifth in attack for 25.3 points per game and fourth in defense with 19.7 points per game conceded. Your thoughts on the Sharkies this season?
Look, everybody expects the most out of the Sharks. Especially the last few seasons. There's always been that big question mark. They're not winning big. They're not beating big names. I think they have done that this year. I think they've beaten some of the better teams in the Roosters, Storm, and the Broncos. The only thing that's probably made me give them the grade that I've given them is that 42-0 or whatever it was lost to the Panthers without Nathan Cleary.
A big one.
Like, that is a massive one. But with that said, you know, they're 10-4 and 1 bye. You know, Hines has missed a little bit of time through Origin and now this calf injury. And Trindle, you know, we won't touch that being from Cabo, what he was stood down for. Doesn't fall far. You can't take the city out of the man. Yeah. But look, with that said, I think the Sharks aren't going too bad. So I'm going to give them a B plus. You know, it's not that A mark. You know, they've still got those 4 losses. They've had a bit of doubt, but, you know, they've got a squad there that they've been building on. They out and out should be top 2. I know top 4 is probably sound for them, but yeah, there's just a couple of games that have made me really question still some doubts about the Sharks. So yeah, that B plus mark I think is warranted.
Yeah, you're pretty on there. I'll run with you there. B, what did you say? B plus, B?
Yeah,
B plus?
Yeah, B plus, I reckon. Yeah. Just under that A mark, you know.
Yeah. The big one for me, as you said, is that Panthers game, 42-0, where they just didn't fire one shot. And like, I know Nico Hines went off like 20 minutes in that game, or he only played stint or whatever, but still, like, he had 20 minutes to do something with that Sharkies team and just didn't, like, with nothing. And that was before Origin, where everyone was talking about, you know, we want Nico or do we want Mitchell Moses? That was his moment to really put his name in lights, but unfortunately it's not the way it goes. But obviously, you know, big notable wins. I think the big win for me was the Roosters game, 38-30. I think like the experience that we had at Magic Round 2, just being
That was a
around
good
the
one.
Roosters fan, it was a great one, bro. It was so good. But I felt like their performance in that one was like, I know they conceded 30 points, but they stuck through the contest all the way, and it was the best. Like they had to win it late in that moment there too, with Hazelton going over, wasn't it, to win that game? Pretty sure there too.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
that was probably for me their best performance this year. You could probably throw up, getting beat by the Tigers is another worrying one there, 32-6. So it was on the Tigers pretty early in the season. They have those moments in them. And I think that's the only reason why we got them beat plus. If they didn't have those moments in them, they're looking at a very strong A.
But
100%. It's the Sharkies. Moving on quickly, we got the Gold Coast Titans, 17th in the competition right now. So they are lucky last with, attacking wise, they're 15th in the competition with 18.4 points per game. And again, another one of those teams. Defensively, they are 15th in the competition right now with 28.5 points per game. What's your thoughts on the Gold Coast Titans this year?
Quickly for me, like I don't want to touch too much on them. We can't go in detail with every team, but no Tino, losing your captain so early in the year, and others. They've had 4 in out. Jaden Campbell. Fuck, here we go. Him being in and out, and then AJ as well. There's just been that circle of who's playing where, and they've had a really hard schedule, and they haven't really been blown off the park by good teams. They've been in the wrestle with some of those better teams, almost pulling off wins against those better teams. But with that said, they are coming last. So I'm going to say a D+. It's not a complete fail season. They've had injuries, other worries, a really tough draw, and they probably could have got home in some of those games and they could be in the 8. So, but a D+ still nonetheless.
Yeah, I'll run with you. I'm going to go a D. I'm going to be like, just seeing the start of the season, that run when there was so much hype around the Titans, Desi Hasler coming to the club. You thought that he was going to bring a new edge to the Gold Coast Titans, but honestly, we're seeing the exact same Gold Coast Titans. I know there's injuries in play there too, which kind of does hurt them as well. But like the start of the season, getting blown out by the Dragons 28-4. Then your Doggies put a number on them, 32-0. Then the Dolphins 30-14. That's what you do. Beat up on the Gold Coast Titans.
That's it. Let's see if the Wars can do it.
Oh, bro, fuck. We couldn't do it to start with, but hopefully we get them over this weekend. But, they started to turn the clogs over a little bit between this period of the Cowboys, the Raiders, the Seagulls. They still were without a win, and then they finally got it against my Warriors, and then they had a really good game against the Melbourne Storm, 22-20. They beat the Cowboys 20-18, and then they go back to sort of like the Gold Coast Titans, up and down. They have moments where they look amazing. They beat the Broncos 36-34, and then they get smacked by the Rabbits the next week, conceding 46 points. So the biggest problem with the Gold Coast Titans is the main reason why I thought they would change a little bit with Desi Hasler is defense. They've always been a team that could put points on you. They've never been a team that could really hold you within you defensively. And unfortunately, they're that team again. And I don't see any change, which is really unfortunate. But yeah, I'll go a D. Sorry, Gold Coast Titans fans, but yeah, it's really unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. Because I think I think we all would love to see the Gold Coast Titans go well, bro. You know what I mean? Like being one of those expansion teams just to like get some new life in the competition. It'd be good to see the Gold Coast Titans because they haven't had a good successful season since 2007, 2008. From memory, they had that season where they made the finals against the Roosters 2018, 2019, around that era.
Something like that,
Remember Paddy Herbert throwing the late offload out to Corey Thompson? That moment? That was probably the last time they had a little bit of success. But yeah, I feel for the Titans fans out there.
For sure.
Moving on to the Manly Seagulls. So they are sitting 8th in the competition right now, guys. 25.1 points per game in attack. So they're sitting 6th. And in defense, they are 10th, 22.1 points per game. So very around that 20 mark they're going to give and concede. So what's your thoughts on the Manly Seagulls this season? Even talk about players like Lukey Brooks coming in, Tommy Talau, players like that. Like, overall, the Manly Seagulls season so far.
Tommy Talau's winning on and off the field with old Miss Just Surges and beating Lomax for the Surges Cup, they called it. So, poor Lomax. But with that said, Manly, look, they've had no Tommy. It seems to be the story of Manly season every season. There's no Tommy. But Manly's beating good teams, which is what I don't understand. They've beaten the Roosters, Panthers, and the Storm. but they're losing to teams like the Raiders, Dragons, and the Eels. So sum that one up for me. You know, they're 7-6 and 1 bye and 1 draw. So, you know, if they got that win, you know, I think it was against it's against the Warriors that draw. So, you know, if they had that win, they would be sitting 8-6. And if they had that second bye, then they'll be higher again. Yeah, other than that, you know, Brooks has been somewhat of a good inclusion, but Tommy DeLau has been unreal for the Seagulls. But again, you know, injuries cost every team. But for Manly, I'm going to say a B-.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go. They remind me so much of the Parramatta Eels from years past. Like, you know, they would have those moments where they beat like the Melbourne Storm. They would beat the Panthers. You know what I mean? They'll look incredible in those games, and then they'll like end up losing to the Tigers or, you know, teams 100%. Like that. You know what I mean? They just remind me so much of the Parramatta Eels. Like, you know, they have a really slick attack. When everything goes going, like they go well. I would say they are slightly steadying the ship lately. Like, you know, the 32-14 win over the Dragons over the weekend was a solid one, especially with no bench. The 32-22 against the Panthers, I actually felt that was a really good game for them. Like, they held it in with the Panthers till a little bit late. Then you had the 26-20 win over the Melbourne Storm. Like, really good performances in there. But again, as we're just touching on, they just have those inconsistent ones of like getting beat, you know, by like lower level teams like the Dragons, like, you know, and the Parramatta Eels in those moments. And it's just, I think they're really good. I just think they need to just find a way to stay more consistent. Again, I'd probably say what I say before about a B. Yeah, around a B.
Yeah,
I'll stick to a B. Moving on to the Melbourne Storm. So currently first in the competition, you know, attacking wise, they're second with 27.2 points per game. And defensively, they are fifth in the competition, 19.8 points per game. Your thoughts on the Melbourne Storm season so far? It's a wild one. They just seem to keep getting wins. They don't do it incredibly like just old school Melbourne style. They do it in a new way now where it's just out of their ass, they pull something out of the hat and they get wins. What's your thoughts on Melbourne?
Yeah, look, it's an A+ season. You can't complain with being on top with the young guys they've got coming through their system. You know, they don't have the stacked out team that they once did have. You know, they've been missing Pappy and Munster pretty much the whole season. I don't think there's too many games where Hughes, Grant, Pappy and Munster all played on the field at the same time this year. So with that said, you know, they've beaten the Roosters, the Panthers, the Warriors twice, and the Broncos. So they haven't had an easy run either. And to be 10-3 and sitting on top, it's an A+ season for me. It's a no-brainer. Bellamy just strikes again. It's just what he does. It's just another day at the office for the Melbourne Storm. As you said, you're not seeing the blowout wins, and I think that's due to the younger guys coming in, but it's the experience they're getting from those grinding games and coming home and showing that they can get the job done at all circumstances is unreal. So, A+.
Yeah, I agree with you there, bro. If you're on top of the competition and you just keep getting wins, like as I said, big win over the Panthers to start the season, keep the Panthers to 0. That's a massive tick there. Then you follow it into the Warriors that were starting fairly hot, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I know we lost to the Sharkies, but our performances in those games were really, really solid. Got over the top of us, and they just continued a big win after big win. Like the Broncos, that was the Adam Reynolds game where they just scraped it through at the end there. But that's what Melbourne seem to learn to do the best. They just learn how to win. They win. They do it whatever the way they can, and they just do it. So A+ it has to be, man. Hey, A+ it has to be. Moving on to the best team in the competition. Sitting 12th currently right now, the New Zealand Warriors. So statistically, we are one of those sides that are just like, it kind of makes no sense of what's going on with us at the moment. But points, attacking wise, we are 10th in the competition with 21.9 points per game. Defensively, we are 6th in the competition still, with only conceding 20.9 points per game. This is a good one, bro. What's your thoughts on the New Zealand Warriors?
Oh, look, you're the wise expert, so I'm going to leave this one to you. All I'm going to say is that injuries have definitely had a big impact on your season. You know, everyone was excited with the news of Roger coming in. You know, you've had a pretty strong schedule. you had some really bad losses though. That the Titans one
Yeah.
in particular, the Knights one, and probably the Dragons one. And I know the Dragons are up and down, and you've obviously caught them on a good week because they did put a touching up on you guys as well.
Yeah, they
did. That's a game you guys wouldn't have lost last year. None of those games you would have lost last year. So it's definitely a big drop from last year's expectation. And you're in the negative. You're 6-7 and only one bye. So with I'm going to say it's not a failed season, but I'm going to say it's definitely a C-. And you're starting to turn the wheels on that season now, and that has a big impact with the injuries. With the news of Fanua Blake leaving as well is definitely a big one. But, that shouldn't impact you guys, especially when you got the news of Fisher Harris coming. And, yeah, I'll leave it to you because you're the one that's all up with the Warriors. But for me, it's not a failed season. I think they need to stick strong and stick to the structure. They have had a really strong draw. It's just those key losses to those really bad teams. You did have a great win against the Dolphins team, who is unreal this year. So, stick with it.
Yeah, a lot of my thoughts I've said multiple different times. I even said it on SEN radio today. I've kind of broken down our season to 3 sort of parts. So the start of our season, defensively, we were unreal. Within our first 3-game win streak, we were scoring 24 points per game. So that's up on our overall average currently right now. And we're only conceding 8.6 points per game in that 3-game average. That's that was one of the best sort of stats to start that season. That's why everyone thought, the Warriors, performance-wise, you guys are incredible. That's why we were looking at being that team to continue on what we were doing. The Manly game is a big one for me because this can go multiple different ways. We had the opportunities to win the game late, but we also put ourselves in the worst position possible, allowing Manly to score 16 points on us early, unanswered, and to really come back late to really trying to find the win. I'd probably agree with you there. I'd probably say we are sitting about, I'd say probably a C. I really do think that a lot of injuries have really hurt us this season due to our big key players in key positions. Having you got Wade Egan come in, go out. We had Freddie Lussick start there, go out. We had Paulie Roach even start there in the Dolphins game, and he ended up going out late. We had Freddie Lussick having to fill in that spot. Sean Johnson started the season well, and then the Achilles injury started to come into effect. We started to not train with all the boys together. We go on that 4-game streak. That was just when you start to look at it, we could have won against the Gold Coast Titans, but still not a good performance. We could have won against the Knights, still not a good performance. We started the season against the Sharkies, could have won that game, could have won the Storm game. There's so many woulda, coulda, shoulda, and that's was what could switch between a C performance to an A. If we had all those games,
100%.
we'd be one of the better teams in the competition, right? If we pipped the
100%.
Melbourne Storm at Melbourne, we'd look incredible. If we started the season and beat the Sharkies the way we looked at the start of that game, we would be incredible. But we went through this 4-game streak here that you can't sugarcoat it. It's a really poor streak. The Dragons, the Titans, the Knights. That 3-game period there in itself is just it was a massive worry. But it's so good to see the boys get back on the horse, have a new found life with Tomato Martin with that period of, the Panthers, the Dolphins, and the Cowboys. I know the Storm game was really unfortunate over the weekend, and it worries a lot of fans to see maybe we're going to go through another 4-game lull. But I do believe that we are turning a corner. And I do believe that we are playing so direct football now. We're not playing out the back as much of what we were in that 4-game stint, thinking that we're going to go around teams when our best football is through the middle, direct football, playing for our edge back rollers. So I'll give us a C. I think there's a big chance we got a softer draw coming up that we can really revitalize our season, make a top 8 run, all that sort of stuff. But you can't sugarcoat that 3 to 4 game. Dragons, Titans, Knights, and even the Roosters. That 4 games is a massive blight on our record. So have to go that way, bro.
100%.
Sweet, my man. We'll move over to the Newcastle Knights. So 13th position currently right now. Attacking-wise, they are 16th in the competition. So they're the second worst team attacking-wise in the competition currently right now. 17.7 points per game. And they are sitting 9th defensively with 21.6 points per game. Obviously hampered with injuries, KP being out for a decent stint of the season as well. Your thoughts on the Newcastle Knights this season so far?
Yeah, look, even PANGAI out, there's still plenty of talent in that team, in my opinion. Not superstars, but enough talent as a collective, across the park for them to be a bit better than they have been. A big one for me is how much they hurt me last year as a Doggies fan with the 2 touch-ups they put on the Doggies in both the games we played them last year, to the complete swing that we've touched them up twice this year. That really shows for me how the Knights are going. And, you know, Manly can sit here and chuck their hands in the air and say, oh, Tommy's out, our season's gone, just like the Knights kind of are. But they're not, you know, they're performing. So the Knights, you know, they had a good win over Melbourne, which was a shock to everyone, and, you know, beating you guys, which they probably shouldn't have. So I'm going to say that for the Knights, it's a D season. You can't sugarcoat it. I'll say a D plus. You know, Ponga is a big impact on them, and it really showed last year on the run he had to somewhat Rob Johnson of the Daily M. But yeah, I would say a D plus. They've only had the 1 bye as well. We've got to remember that. So
yeah, I think like for me, I'll go C minus. I'll give them a little bit of lift because I saw a little bit of life when they went back to simple football for Jackson Hastings and that combination there. But I always knew that coming into the season, this is going to be a tough one for Newcastle Knights, just due to that halves sort of merry-go-round look of like having Jack Cogger in the club now. You even had Will Price come over from the Super League. That started to fall away now. He's apparently not performing too well in New South Wales Cup. Jackson Hastings now seems to be like on the outer sort of in the Newcastle Knights. There's a lot of rumors saying they're not really happy with him and they don't see him as a long-term halfback, which is not a good thing to hear if you're Jackson Hastings at the club, who's actually, I felt like he's been fairly solid for them. I think the only thing he needs to get out of his game lately is the niggle. Like his niggle in the game is not really helping his game at all. But coming into the season, I thought the biggest positive is like KP, but I just thought that the combinations were going to switch around because Newcastle fans would want Jack Cogger in straight away. Grand finalist last year, looked like he unlocked the Panthers. Is he going to unlock Newcastle Knights? People don't really take into effect what that Panthers system is and how good that Panthers system makes players look, especially as well.
Charlie Stones.
And then Newcastle, you know what I mean? Like as soon as they go for a losing streak, yeah, they were like, yeah, bro, right? As soon as they go for a losing streak, a lot of fans would be like, get Jack Cogger in. They put him in. He wasn't the player they thought he would be. He's back out. They're changing their halves combination that many times. Like, it was always going to be a downward slope. But, again, I'll give them a little bit of a upgrading because I think defensively they've found their way in moments this year. But, again, they've been fairly inconsistent. So I can understand that D rating, bro. Any more on the Newcastle Knights before we move on?
Nah. Get them going.
We don't want to spend too much time there. The Cowboys. This is a big one here. So they are 10th in the competition right now. They are 4th attacking wise with 25.4 points per game, but they are 14th right now, 25.9 in points per game conceded. So defensively, they are just not there this season. What's your thoughts on the Cowboys? How did the Cowboys change? What do they do wrong at the moment that they need to change?
I don't know what's happened with the Cowboys the last 2 seasons. You know, they look like world beaters, you know, 2-3 years ago. You know, Peyton got them on the right track. And now they're just, it's about who scores the most points in their games. You know, they can't shut a team out defensively. They give up starts. It's all over the place. So with the amount of origin stars they've got in their team and leadership they've got in their team, they should be almost closing out every game. They're a top 4 team on paper. I don't understand it. I really don't. You know, they're hit and miss. They can't play a whole game. I don't know. I don't know what's the wrong there. You know, they go hard in preseason. They're very fit. They should be in the games from the start. Everyone talks about how hard they work during preseason. But yeah, I don't understand. I don't know what's wrong with the Cowboys. They just can't find consistency. And they can't play a whole game. And they're another team, a bit like the Broncos. It's like, we need to score a lot of points to win. We can't rely on our defense.
Yeah.
It sums it up.
Yeah, and I think the big key stat is obviously their defensive record, you know, 25.9 points per game conceded, sitting 14th in the competition. If they just uptick that just a tiny bit, you'd see that 10th ranking currently right now on the ladder just shoot all the way up. Like having 100%. A 4th best attack in the competition right now, they're scoring points to win games, but they're still losing games. Like notable games here, Like, you know, losing to the Gold Coast Titans 20-18, losing to the Dolphins 28-26. If you're scoring that 26 mark, you should be coming home with the win. I know that as the Warriors too. Like, as soon as we get to that 24 mark, we should be coming home with the win. Defensively, we should be holding teams under that. You know, big blowout losses there with like the Sharkies 42-6. But then they'll have some decent performances here, there too, where like, you know, the Raiders game 34-16. For a majority of that game, they're looking like world beaters. You have like players like Jeremiah Nenai, like the amount of Origin players that are in that side that look incredible. It just doesn't make sense why they aren't doing that and why they aren't playing like that Queensland Origin of like keep moving your feet, defending like that. Billy sees things defensively that he likes in them, but when they go back to Clubland, it's like it doesn't come together in Clubland. It honestly makes no sense. There just seems to be a side that fall in love with the attacking football and think that's going to get them home, but that's where inconsistency comes from, because
100%.
In this day and age, defense is the best way to win competition. So we've all seen that.
100%. I think that maybe they're a little bit overworked. They haven't had a bye yet. They get their first one this week, and there is a lot of travel for their schedule, so that could play a fact as well. You know, But yeah, for me, it's a D+.
Yeah, I'll ride that with you, bro. I think they've been very disappointing, especially with a team that has that many Origin players in it. They should be playing so much better than that. And honestly, as I said before, like if they just tune down that like 25.9 points per game conceding, just down to like that 21 mark, which isn't too far away, like they are one of the best teams in the competition. Like that's all they need to do. Potential, 100%. Parramatta, the next one off the rank, sitting 15th currently right now, just getting Mitchell Moses back and all that, but currently sitting 14th, attacking wise, 20.2 points per game. Defensively, they're sitting 16th, the second worst defensive team in the competition right now, 28.9 points per game conceding. That's a hell of a lot of points to concede. Your thoughts on the Parramatta Eels this season and just their season in general? Brad Arthur in, Brad Arthur out, the coach merry-go-round now. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, look, they can sit here and say injuries is a big factor for them, but you know, it's really not, other than Moses and, you know, Gutho a little bit. But they're two guys that aren't going to help them defensively that much to save that many points. And it has shown that even though they've been back the last 3 weeks, they have looked a bit better in attack, but their defense has not improved. So you can't sit here and blame their season on that. So I'm going to say it's an E season for the Eels. It's very poor.
Yeah.
You know, there's enough talent on that team. There's guys that have been in Origin. Their forward pack between Madison, Paulo, and RCG have all played Origin. Hopgood has now played Origin. Mitch Moses, Origin player. Gutho shouldn't have played Origin, but he did. So there's, for me, they're an E, man. I don't want to touch too much on them. That it's a poor season.
It's been a very poor season, bro. I agree. I'll run that with you because, like, as you just named, like that team on paper should be doing a ton better than that. And especially when you start naming like players like Hopgood, players like Ryan Madison, players like RCG. Defensively, they should be holding into contest with those sort of players on your side, but they just don't. Like you got Will Benacini on the side. That's an incredible young up and coming center, but like just the inconsistency they have around that squad of players that just turn off every so often, like. Yeah, it's just not good. Like I'll follow you there, bro. They're definitely for me one of the worst performing sides, especially for what they were supposed to be this season. And also, your thoughts on like coaching out there? Do you reckon is there a coach you have in mind that could turn the Eels around next year? Like Jason Riles defensively, you know, he's the defensive coach. Was he at the Roosters and he's gone to Melbourne? Like, do you think he can do it? Is there anyone else in mind that you have?
No, there's not a lot of coaches getting around. I think they'll probably end up with Jason Demetrio. He's not really a defensive coach either. As you've seen at the Rabbits, they also leaked a lot of points even in their wins. I don't know who they're going to chase, in my opinion. I really don't.
Yep. I have heard recently, bro, that Jason Demetrio is out of that race now. I heard that today. Yeah. Oh, today or yesterday. It was on the Monday scrum or whatever. There was a potty I was listening to. He came out and said that he's out of the race and he doesn't know who I think there's two people they have in mind. And I'd say Jason Riles would be one of them. So
Ben Hornby might be the other.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of
he's
like.
He's going right with the Bunnies. So.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of, it's going to be interesting to see what they sort of do there because we all know what they need to fix. We all know what. Yeah. Up next, I don't think we need to touch on this team too much either because they just keep doing what they keep doing. Like we could really you could honestly going about them for hours if you want to talk about that. But the Penrith Panthers, bro, second in competition right now. Attacking wise, they've always been a team that never had like the best attacking in the competition, but they're still going good. Seventh in the competition with 24 points per game. Defense, that is just what their game's built off of, and we're going like 15.6 points per game conceded. Like the Penrith Panthers, bro. What's your thoughts this season?
Yeah, look, it's an A season. I won't say an A+ season. Cleary been out. Tyrone May. Not Tyrone May. Sorry, Terrell. No, not Terrell. Taylor May. Sorry, I got there in the end.
May.
Yeah,
there's one of them.
Yeah.
There's three brothers there, brother.
Well, that's it. He's been out. So, and, Crichton leaving, they could have went into a bit of a hole, especially defensively on the edges. Tungo's been pretty bad defensively, but, they're still finding a way. So, yeah, it's an A season. Yep. Pretty simple.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, bro. Like, they've never been a team, like, they've had some really good attacking performances within their performances here, but they've never been a team that, like, attacking-wise, they're going to be, like, unreal. Defensively, they just strangle teams out of contests. And the Penrith Panthers, bro, like, would you say they're your favourites for the competition right now still?
Oh, depending on how they go with Cleary coming back. I think going into the finals, they're going to need Cleary back. If he comes back and has another injury, I wouldn't say they're my favourites. I would potentially lean more towards Melbourne. They've got a lot more potential there with the likes of Pappy back this weekend, Munster potentially coming back. Yeah. So, and I just wanted to address the quick comment there. If you don't sack Arthur to hire JD, well, at the end of the day, he might do a better job than what Brad Arthur was doing with that team. Brad Arthur had all those guys there for so long. Yeah, he may be a better coach head to head, but he might be the better coach for that system. So that's potentially system where players. JD could come in and change that system, and the system that he brings might work better for those players. So it's not really about who's a better coach. It's about what they bring for that club and that system. So I think Brad Arthur is 100% better coach than JD, but I agree. Bro. You don't sack him, but systems. And you change. Brad Arthur's been there for a long time, and unfortunately, he didn't bring a grand final. So. Yeah,
I think that was the main reason why they end up going that way with the Parramatta Eels. Just the amount of years that they've had just doing that. They just wanted something new. They want something new. And by the looks of it, they're probably going to get a brand new head coach, you know what I mean? Like a fresh head coach that hasn't done it before. I think from all the rumors out there, I really do think Jason Rolls will probably be the one to take over. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. The South Sydney Rabbitohs, my brother, 14th in the competition right now. They are 12th in the competition for attack with 20.9 points per game. They've actually turned that around a little bit better in the last couple of weeks. But defensively, they are the worst team in the competition right now. 30.6 points per game conceding. What's your thoughts on the Rabbitohs season so far? Are we giving them a straight F? Are we giving them an E? What are we thinking?
It's the exact same as the Eels for me. It's an E. So same sort of story. Some injuries, probably a bit more injuries than the Eels. Sacking of the coach. But plenty of key players there, and they should be firing, and they're just not. So it's a straight E for me. Much the same.
It has to be, bro. It has to be. And it's good to see them slowly turn it around a little bit now. When they had their half combination of Cody Walker and that's opened them up a little bit. And especially, Cody has been known when he's playing in that 6 role to be the guy that's just sits on an edge and let the game come to him a little bit. But now being in that 7, he's got to take the game on. And I think that helps him a lot because he's got so much talent. So I think that's what really helped him. But I agree. There has to be a fail of a season. At the moment, you can't. They could definitely turn it around to get it somewhat better thoughts at the end of the season, but still, when you think of it, the Rabbitohs for a lot of people are in the top 4 race, or even they're going to be in the top 8 for everyone, and they're one of the worst teams in the comp.
Top 4 should have been there, so now we're looking at potentially top 10 being a somewhat all right season for them. So that's definitely a fail.
Exactly. All right, moving on to the Dragons. So 11th in the competition right now. Attacking wise, they are 11th in the competition with 21.1 points per game. And defensively, they are 11th in the competition right now, 24.7 points per game. is that where they should be sitting? Like, what are your thoughts? What's your grade on the Dragons season to season?
No, that's 100% where they should be sitting. 7-7 sums it up because it's 1 week on, 1 week off with the Dragons. It's like they're doing FIFA because they can't perform 2 weeks in a row. They've had the one bye, but they are winning some games by big margins, and then they're losing games by big margins. It's a roller coaster. It really is. So there's an improvement from last year, though. So it's a C+ season for me, but I think that's a pretty fair position and kind of where everyone would expect a team like the Dragons to be sitting.
Yeah, I agree with you. That is an improvement from last season because I'll add into Fleno's now got tape of games when they go well and he can show them those games and what they've done well in those moments. But he could also show them games where it's this is where you fall completely off the pace. Like the 30-10 against Newcastle was a big one. Them getting smacked 60-18 against the Roosters. The Roosters to do that to anyone, but that's a massive blowout victory there. You guys put 44 on them. I know that second half, they had moments in that Jack Bird went off for that. But you put, hey, there's the confidence. The West Tigers, they beat the West Tigers 56-14. It's one of their best performances of this year, I reckon. The Tigers, but the West Tigers, that second half, they were absolutely dreadful. So really, I'm going to give them, I'll give them a C. Just a pass.
That's fair.
I feel like it's a building block season. I think Fleno's starting to see things about him where he's seen good moments, he's seen bad moments. Now he can really pick apart his team a little bit better. Where I feel like in years past under Griffin, it was just everything was meh. Meh.
Yeah, I agree.
It was such a meh team. So they've slowly turned around to where they have some good moments in there. It was all right, we can build off this, but it's consistency that they need to bring into their game. So
100%.
Next up, my brother, we got the Roosters at 5th position right now, but in attack, they are unreal. The best team in the competition right now, 29.6 points per game. Defensively, they are the 3rd best team in the competition right now, 19.4 points per game. Are they the biggest threat other than the Melbourne Storm for the Penrith Panthers this season?
No. They can't. They can't put it together. They're a top 2 team on paper, but they're not there. They're 8-6. They've had some injuries, but not massive injuries compared to what they've got on paper and what that team is. No injuries, they've only had the one bye, and their only good wins so far for me have been the Broncos twice. But even with that said, the Broncos having a terrible season, or not a terrible season, a hard season,
up and down season,
then you guys. So I'm going to be the Roosters' biggest critic and say it's a C- season. You've got all that hype, all that talent. You should be almost unbeatable, and they've lost 6 times. It's not good enough for a team like the Roosters and the team that they have on paper. So that's a C- for me, and that's probably being generous in my opinion.
They've got, as you said, would you say they have the best roster on paper?
Yeah, 100%. Without a doubt. To be under the cap with that team on paper is unreal. You got potentially one of the best fullbacks in the game over the past 5 years. You got probably the best center since he's started playing in Joey Manu. You got Dom Young, who was absolutely outstanding last year and is such a talent on the wing. Daniel Tupou, who's probably been a top 15. You could push top 10 winger in his career. Oh, man. Luke Keary, Sam Walker, talent, the forward pack. Where does it stop? And you can't win more. You can't win majority of your games. 8-6 is not good enough for that team.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'd say I would give them it's tough. I would give them a B-, mainly because of in their games there that they're starting to turn over. They're starting to find a system that's working for them now, if that makes sense. You got right. playing off instead of playing with the link man of Radley playing for the middle and really stunting that attack with Sammy Walker and allowing Sammy Walker to just play off the cuff. They are now allowing to play off of Sammy Walker, and that's really improved them, I feel for majority of the games this season. But then you got losses like this against the Cowboys 18-16 that just pop in there, and it's such a Roosters thing at the moment. It's they can have the best team on paper, but for some reason Robbo just seems to not be able to really make it fully work to, you know what I mean? To really take it to the competition, just blow the competition away. They've had moments of it where you just hear the Roosters, they're going to be amazing. And then they're the best example, 40-18 against the Broncos, domination. 38-18 against the Warriors, domination. 38-30, the Sharkies beat them. You know what I mean? Like, the Sharkies are a good squad, but you're coming off of those sort of moments that you would think the Roosters would continue to chug it over. And then they go back on the horse, 44-16. They beat the Raiders. Then they lose to the Cowboys. Like, if
they don't score early, brother, they don't want to be there. Again, it's talent, and they rely on talent alone. I feel like there's not enough hard work going into building that team. It's just, we've got all this talent, go win us games, go win us a premiership, not, fuck, this is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to win it. It's not Penrith mentality. You know, it's next man up for Penrith, no matter how many they've lost. And you've got the Roosters that just sign anyone and everyone and somehow still can't win a premiership. So, and to me, it doesn't look like they will again this year. And I will eat my words if they turn it around and end up winning it. But at the end of the day, defense is going to win you a grand final. And at the moment, if they're not on for that day. It's gone. See you next year.
Yep. Sweet. Yeah, I'll sit with you on that then. The Dolphins, bro. The next one up, 4th in the competition. Right? 4th in the competition. Attacking wise, they are the 3rd best attacking team in the competition right now. So that's a big tick for the Dolphins. 26.2 points per game. 7th in defense. So fairly good. 21.2 points per game. Are the Dolphins legit? Can they keep this top 4 sort of spot? Can they keep a top 8 sort of spot? What's your thoughts on the Dolphins so far?
I don't think they'll keep a top 4 spot. They've had a pretty weak schedule, probably one of the weaker schedules. And, you know, the Sharks win was a big win for them. Other than that, they haven't really played or beaten or lost. So, played or beaten, a good team. You know, they're performing well, don't get me wrong, and I'm giving them an A- for their season, but their schedule hasn't been tough at all. And I think for sure, leading into these tougher games, they will find it a bit hard. And they've been pretty lucky with injuries as well. So it's a great season, don't get me wrong, especially in their second season. But yeah, I think they'll keep a top 8 spot. I think they'll finish about that 6 mark. I really do. But I think the heavy hitters from the back, like the Warriors, like the Broncos, will come in and really push for those top 6 spots. I don't think it's too late in the season at all, especially with the season the way it's going. So I think the Dolphins will slide to that 6th or 7th mark.
No, I agree. All right. Sweet. So what was your rating for them there, bro?
It's an A-.
It's an A-? Yeah, I would agree. I think they've shown some really good things against teams they should be beating in that, and you're 100% right. They haven't had a big win over a team you know what I mean, just out of nowhere, you know, beating like the Broncos or beating like, you know, even like some of like the Roosters, the Panthers, stuff like that. Like they've done really well. They've had a really good draw. I think these are the big moments for them coming up. They got the Storm this weekend, even though, you know, Storm have a couple of outs during Origin, but still a big game for them. And then, you know, coming up, they got the Panthers in round 20. I feel like it's a big game. The Roosters in round 22. Like, they've got a lot of back-end schedule, like the Storm in round 25, the Broncos in round 26. They've still got a lot of teams to get across to stay in the top 4 race. I think they'll fall into a top 8 race. But full credit to the Dolphins, 2nd year in the competition,
100%,
to do what they're doing, and especially with the injuries around them. Like, it's been a good season for them. Like, speaking about, they're signing TEVITA PANGAI Jr. due to the injuries they're having in the middle. Like, and they're still performing fairly well. They're still top 4. Good, massive credit to the Dolphins. And the last team we're going to get through before we jump into our Punters Paradise this weekend, guys, we have got the West Tigers. Probably won't touch on them too much because I feel like they get touched on all the time by the media, by everything. But, like, you know, the Tigers, they are the Tigers. They are 16th in the competition right now, 17th. So is it the worst attacking team in the competition right now, 15.8 points per game. And they are 12th in the competition for defense, 25.7 points per game, brother. So the Tigers, they, again, getting a low rating. They're getting a D, C, E.
Yeah, look, they've been close in most games, but they haven't really had a tough schedule. They've only been, you know, blown out a couple of times. Sorry, I'm looking at my Titans notes. Apologies. They've had some injuries, but there is no improvement from last year. They're the same position, same amount of wins. It's got to be an F. You know, no improvement from last year. And, Coruscant should have found his feet now. I
Yeah.
know they've got a lot going there. I'm not going to kick a team while they're down. They've got a bunch of young ones, guys leaving, injuries, whatever. But no improvement. It's an F.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there, bro. Like, it's been a really unfortunate one for a team that I was really excited for coming to the season to see improvement out of. And whether it was just rosy-colored glasses, you saw the team list. It's like there was something there around about there with the team list. You were kind of seeing things like you could see a little bit of improvement to their roster, but maybe it was like Benji is still a first-year head coach. Well, second year if you're taking the year under Tim Sheen's, like, really, you start to see everything as like, oh, maybe this is the reason why, like, they aren't doing that well. But again, the Tigers is really unfortunate, and they still have a fairly tough run coming up. They got the Roosters in round 17, the Storm in round 18, the Sharks in round 19. Like, bro, that's a horror run coming up for them. So it could get a little bit worse there too. So it's good for them to get a nice little win over the Titans there over the weekend, but it's going to be a tough little run there for Tigers fans out there. So I apologize. They are mud. All right.
Quick shout out, Tim Sheens. Tim Sheens. Why doesn't Parramatta chase someone like Tim Sheens?
For me, I would be done and dusted with Tim Sheens. Honestly, even when he was coming back for his second stint, I feel like Tim Sheens had a really good stint in the early era of rugby league, but then it fell completely off. He went to Super League, did all the things there, and I just haven't seen the same things out of Tim Sheens as what he was in the past. And I don't know. For me, I wouldn't. But what would you see out of Tim Sheens? Obviously, experience. He's been around the game.
Experience is the main thing. Is potentially, and you could get Parramatta playing with that big forward pack, that old school mentality of defense, and that's probably the only reason I would look at Tim Sheens potentially with who you've got on the table.
If you got the Eels playing like the 05 Tigers. Yeah. Remember that Tigers? It was through the middle, quick play to ball speed, just front foot footy, like with Benji and that. It would suit them so well too, to be honest. They think of like Benji Marshall and Scotty Prince, like Dylan Brown and Mitchell Moses. Something could be there. Something could be there. Maybe there could be more talk on that, but all the talk right now is everyone wants a new head coach, a fresh head coach of Jason Riles, Hene, stuff like that. But I like you throwing up names like that. It's good. So going into our weekend, brother, our Punters Paradise. As always, guys, if you're having a punt this weekend, please make sure you gamble responsibly. Brody, my brother, we'll go through our tips first, as we usually do. And then we'll go through our value of the weekend. This show's stretching out quite a bit, so we might run through the tips fairly quickly. But how do we go tipping wise over the weekend, my bro? How'd you go? 5?
I think it was 5, potentially 6. I can't remember if I tipped the Tigers. I think I just kind of threw that game out. So I think it was either 5 or 6. So I think you went basically the same, except you went the Bronx.
I went the Bronx, yeah.
Yeah, and you went the Titans, but I can't remember if I said the Tigers. I don't really mind either. So, but with the punt, we nearly got up on Cronulla. They just didn't get the job done, but we did hit our 2 try scorers.
Love that.
And then in the Cowboys-Raiders game, well, unfortunately, the Cowboys ended up blowing it out. It wasn't 1-12, and Drinkwater didn't get over. So I apologize not getting those 2 up for you guys. And then in that Rabbits-Broncos game, we definitely got Latrell up, the Rabbits up, and we forgot Piacora did not score. But he potentially had the opportunity there, but I feel like the Broncos just didn't really use him or run hard, tackle hard. So hopefully this week.
Hopefully this week, brother. Hopefully this week. And if anyone got on like just someone like a Britton Nakota after the way we were talking about him, like he would have got up there and like he was some good odds for what he was there. But moving on to this weekend, bro, tips for this weekend. We'll touch on the first game pretty quickly. The Dolphins versus the Melbourne Storm at Suncorp. Obviously, big notable outs here. No Harry Grant for the Melbourne Storm. No Felice Kafusi. No Hammer. And no Kurt Donahue, who I'm bringing up there. But no Xavier Coates for the Melbourne Storm, bro. Which way are you swaying in this contest? Do you think the outs are big enough for the Melbourne Storm to not beat the Dolphins? Or do you think the Dolphins will find a way against a really good side in the Melbourne Storm?
I think I'm going to go with the Storm 1-12 in a close one. I feel like the Hammer really saved them against the Sharks. Take him out of that game, and they lose to that good team that the Dolphins have come up against. And I think Melbourne will be classy enough to shut the rest down. So I think Melbourne 1-12.
Yeah, Ryan Papenhuyzen coming back into big notable name coming back in, and then you pair him up with Jerome Hughes, and you still got players like Eli Katoa and all that. They were incredible at the weekend. So for me, I'm going the same way with you. I'm going to go the Melbourne Storm, and the Melbourne Storm's record at Suncorp is unbelievable. So I know that's against the Broncos majoritively, but even in Magic Round, I think they've been incredible there too. So yeah, the Melbourne Storm. Yeah, I'm going Melbourne Storm. Next game of the weekend, we've got the Titans versus the Warriors. Obviously, me and Brody are going to that game, guys. So if you guys are any guys out there and want to come say hello and all that, we are nice people. We'll say hello to you guys. Like, I can't wait to go out there and watch us take on the Gold Coast Titans. Obviously, the Warriors dropping out of no Dallin Watene-Lesniak, no Kurt Catewell, no Mitch Barnett, no Rocco Berry. We fill in those spots. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck is a big notable name coming back into our lineup there. And then looking at the Gold Coast Titans, no big outs other than Mo Fodawaker. Khalees Haas is out currently as well. But they do have some big inclusions that could be coming our way, actually. It's not a confirmed one, but Tanner Boyd's 18th man, so he could be back off injury. Does that sway you out of the Titans' way, or what are you thinking? Home, Gold Coast, dry track, Warriors, baby.
Look, I'm going to go the Warriors -5.5. If Tanner Boyd plays, I'm going to go Warriors 13+. So that's what no hate, Tanner Boyd, I'm sorry, but I feel like you'll be a target more so in defense and offer a little bit less in attack than the likes of Campbell. So, yeah, -5.5 for the Warriors.
I'm really excited to see the contest of Murata Niokota and Dave Fafita, bro. I think that's going to be an absolute banger. I'm going Warriors 1-12 because I still just want to see it out of the boys before I start going Warriors 13+ and get confidence in the boys there. And I do think the Gold Coast Titans have points in them. Like, I think they can get up to like that 18-20 mark. I believe that for us, we'll probably get to that 24-28 mark. That's what I'm seeing. So 28-20 is where I'm sitting currently. So I'm going to go the Warriors 1-12. Really excited for this matchup though. So again, guys, if you see us out there, come say hello. Next game we got on the Saturday as well. The Roosters versus the Doggies, bro. The second best game of the weekend because the Warriors obviously the first game of that. So, you know, what's your thoughts overall on this game, bro? The massive outs. Sorry, brother.
Just remind me that.
Who's an E8? Oh, don't do this to me. You're on a Warriors channel and you know what you're doing. So we got, obviously, you guys know Jacob Preston, no Kurt Mann, no Stephen Crichton. The Roosters, no Angus Crichton, no Connor Watson, no Lizzie Collins, no Spencer Leniu, and no Michael Jennings, who was in last week anyway. So notable names coming in here. There's no big names I really want to name off of. Josh Curran playing on the edge. I really like that. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, we've also got no Preston as well. I don't know if you touched on him. I might have missed that one with that ankle injury. And Kickout has been added to the reserves, but I don't think he's back. Look, I think it'll be a close one. I don't know how we're going to go. I was hoping potentially that they would have a couple more out. I think Stephen Crichton is massive for us out. But, you know, I've got to ride with the Doggies. I'm going to say we'll get it up by 2.
Yep. Oh, I like it.
Got to stay loyal. Got to stay loyal.
I like it. For me, I'm probably going to tip the way of the Roosters. I'm sorry, Bella, but I think like looking at that edge of Sammy Walker, Joey Manu, Dominic Young, like, you know, with no Stephen Crichton on that side, so you'd probably have is the opposite side. So that's Sherry's side. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's
so that'll be There you go. That'll be that Matt Burton side. So Matty Burton's still in there and all that. Josh Curran would be defending that side. That's right. Yeah. So Tupou's on your left, on their left, attacking left.
Yeah.
Where Dommy Young attacks that right.
Yeah, Critter normally defends the right side, so that's where I think we might leak some points. But Kiraz is no slouch.
Yeah, Kiraz no slouch, so he could do a job there too. I'm just taking probably like Skelton's a good one. I'm really excited for that because New South Wales Cup wise, he's been absolutely killing it. Like he's just an absolute freak. But I'm thinking the Roosters, but I think it's going to be a close game. I honestly think you're going to hold him into a really close contest. So I'm going Roosters 1-12. It's at Gosford too. But yeah, I'm going Roosters 1-12 there. Next game up on Saturday, we got the Rabbitohs and the Manly Seagulls. Big notable misses here for the Rabbitohs. Obviously, Cam Murray and Latrell Mitchell. And obviously, for the Manly Seagulls, no DCE, no Hamoli Olakawatu, no Jake Trbojevic, no Ruben Garrick, and no Taniela Baseka. Aaron Schopp is playing in the centres for the Manly Seagulls this weekend. Did you see that one?
No, I didn't see that one. I actually
It's,
somewhat rate Aaron Shot. I think if he was in a decent team, especially like the Panthers,
yep.
he would be good. But yeah, he's got the talent. I think he's a good one.
When you look at these teams on paper, would you say Cody Walker and Jack Whiten can get it done with this Manly side without DC? You got Carl Lawton in that 7 role currently. I don't know if there's going to be a late change there at all, but yeah, I would probably sway the way the Rabbits at the moment.
Yeah, as much as I hate to admit it, DCE has been pretty outstanding for a team that should be falling apart, in my opinion, in Manly. But he's been outstanding, and I hate to admit that I absolutely can't stand Cherry Evans, but he has been good. So, but I still think that Walker and Whiten with the kicking game, and I really rate Jai Gray at the back. So, I think the Rabbits will get it done.
Yeah, I love Jai Gray, so I'm really excited for this game here. And the last game of the weekend, brother, we got the West Tigers versus the Raiders. Big notable ins here. We do see that Adam Dewey's in the reserves again. There's a lot of talk of whether he will come back this weekend or next weekend or something like that. I'm pretty sure he's due back very, very shortly, whether it does happen this week. So that'll be good to see for Tigers fans out there. They don't lose Api Gorosau. Lockie Galvin's back in the 6th jersey there. Is that enough to get over the top of the Raiders, who are fairly unchanged? Like the only outs they have here is Tom Starling.
My bet on this one is head-to-head who's going to have the most errors out of Xavier Savage and Charlie Staines. Both awful. But I think the Raiders will get it done. I really do. You know, the Tigers are lucky to get over the Titans, in my opinion. And if it wasn't at Leichhardt, they wouldn't have got that win. So I think the Raiders, and I think it'll be pretty convincingly.
Yeah, I'm with you there too. I probably think the Raiders 13 plus in this one, but would be good to see the Tigers try to hold in there. Especially, I'm really excited to see where Adam Dewey will sit, especially with the halves pairing of Aiden Caesar, Lockie Galvin. You probably see him in the center role, but Brent Naden's there. We'll probably push Naden to a wing if he does jump in, but be interesting for Tigers fans because they've been waiting on Dewey for how long now, and it'd be good for them there. But we'll quickly run into our value bets for the weekend, brother. What's your value bets for the weekend? Because I've been a little bit lazy with my bets here, but what's your thoughts for the weekend? What do you got for us?
All right. So on Blue Bet, I've got Melbourne Storm 1-12, running in that with the Warriors -5.5. I got the Doggies plus 18.5. I got the Rabbits -5.5, and Canberra Raiders head-to-head. All up 5-leg multi, that's running $23.48.
That's juicy.
So tenner on that will get 200. And then for my same games on the on the Friday night, there's no Thursday game, is the Melbourne Storm and the Dolphins. I've got, again, Melbourne Storm 1-12. Will Warbrick anytime coming back into that right edge, and Jermaine Osako anytime. That's paying $11 for a 3-leg same game multi. I'm pretty confident with my try scorers. I'm just not sure if Melbourne do stretch it out to be a bit more than 1-12, but I think with Grant out, and we'll make that a bit tighter of a contest.
Yeah. I do like that a lot, bro. And the Dolphins are known to try and make it a contest as well. So that could really play into effect there. But yeah, great couple of bets there, guys. I would probably get you, bro, if you can, maybe after the video or whatever when it goes live, chuck it in the comment section down below in Ash Thomas, and I'll get you over to Wise Up TV as well to put those bets up so everyone can jump on it on the weekend and that. But guys, please make sure you let us know next week if you get up on any of the bets that we bring your way on Punters Paradise or Down Unders. I hope you guys have been really enjoying that and that. But we're probably going to have to miss out our combined 17 a little section here, bro, because we are running at like 2 hours, minutes mark and all that sort of stuff. But did you want to do it this week?
Nah, next week.
You want to do it next week? You're running it next week? So, guys, we do have new segments coming on Down Unders. We're going to grow the show a little bit. We're looking at combined 17s. We're also looking at team of the weeks. This show was obviously massive because we had a massive breakdown on every team. We're not going to be doing this every week, guys. We only wanted this for special shows. Also, make sure you tune into our show next Wednesday before the Origin stream. Me and Levon will be streaming the Origin, but before that, me and Brody will go live. We'll give you our thoughts on both our sides here, the Queensland Maroons versus the Blues. Obviously, Brody is a Blues fan. I'm a Maroons fan. So we're going to give you both sides of the story and also our value bets from either side of the fence. So feel free to jump in there, guys. But any last things from you, my brother? Amazing show again. Second time on social media. Like, you're incredible.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a long one tonight. So I appreciate everyone actually sticking around. You guys have been going hard in the comments, and it's outstanding.
Yeah.
So
56 people watching, bro.
Yeah, you get to watch a celebrity like Ash Thomas, so it's absolutely
Stop
outstanding.
it.
And the respect and love you guys show him is outstanding. So yeah, no, I'm just glad to be a part of it. And yeah, 2 hours and you guys have stuck around. I really, yeah, couldn't appreciate it enough. So
Yeah.
again, as Ash said, we will make sure that it doesn't go for this long every week. It was just a bit of that breakdown, and we wanted to give every team a bit of a shout out there, not just try and bypass too many teams. So it did take that little bit longer. But yeah, no, all good.
We got one quick little thing before we get into it. Last question from Jazzy. Jazzy, shoot away while you can. While you do that, I'll quickly also say, guys, there's a couple of things we'll be working with. Obviously, there's been a question on Brody's socials and stuff like that. I'll work it out. You know, Brody, if you want me to put down his name in the description, I will do that down below. But also, our timestamping, I will probably start doing that next week. I might start doing it this weekend. It's just going to be a massive episode to get around, and it's getting late tonight and that. But I'll get around to timestamping the videos for you guys so you can touch on the Broncos segment, the Raiders segment, and all the little segments and stuff. We'll start doing that for you guys. So in future, if you rewatch the stream, you can jump into certain spots where you want to, especially Punters Paradise. I think that'll help people to jump straight into Punters Paradise. But Jazzy, have you got the last question there, my bro? Still waiting.
A comment earlier from Michael Williams. Shout out to the bro. Just quickly before we get to this question, we're playing Albany Creek this week, but I am not playing. I'm going down to watch the footy. The body also needs a bit of a rest from a tough game on the weekend, but I reckon the boys will still get it done. Probably not as big of a win with me missing. Nah, just kidding. I think they'll get it done 32-12. We're still got a solid squad there. So, but the question is, you want to read that out, Ash?
All right. Brody, if you could replace 1 or 2 Warriors players, who would you take out and insert, brother?
Oh, that's a good one. On the spot.
It probably shows where we are weakest. So if I'm looking at preferred team list for me, right, if I'm going to give you my best 17, we go Chance Nickel, Clockstag out back. I'd probably say at the moment you got Montoya, Dallin Watene-Selesniak. I'd say Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, but you got Bumpy there as well. So have those both guys there. And Rocco Berry. Halves are Sean Johnson, preferably Luke Metcalf to Mighty Martin, one of those boys there. Up front, Adam Fanor-Blake, Mitch Barnett or Jackson Forward. On the edge, Catewell, Marata Niokore, Tohu Harris or Dylan Walker is your starting players there. And you got Tom Arles of the world and stuff, but what are you thinking? Out of anyone in the world?
Look, I would probably move Tohu up front, and I would bring in the likes of Paddy Carrigan into your lock forward role. Unreal work ethic. Ash does rate him as one of the best locks in the game, and so do I. So that's one move I'd make, and I would push Tuivasa to left wing, and I'd bring in the likes of Stephen Crichton, and that team to me would be unreal. So that would mean dropping Pompey and dropping Montoya. No hate to those boys, absolutely outstanding. But if you're thinking what would take you guys straight to a premiership, I reckon inserting the likes of Critter and Paddy Carrigan, bang, done.
That would be amazing, bro.
That's on the spot with no backing, like just off the top of my head. They're 2 guys you could put into any team, and they would instantly improve that team a million%. So,
yeah. Would you say someone like Payne Haas up front with Adam Fanor-Blake? Can you imagine that 2 front row pairing?
Payne Haas as well. Yeah, he could be good for you guys. Yeah, definitely. But I think leadership wise, guys like Carrigan and Critter add a lot more than just the standard upfront fronting. But definitely don't steal Critter from me. All right, I'm loving that too much. We need him.
Well, you stole Curran from us, so we got to steal someone back.
Hey, you guys didn't want him. There's a difference.
No. He didn't want to stay with us. He wanted to go home. That's what happens with the Warriors.
True. He wanted to be in top 8 this year. All right, you're right.
You're in a Warriors channel, mate. Don't forget this. But appreciate you, bro. Again, another amazing video, guys. Please make sure you jump on those bets on the weekend if you do have money in that. Do gamble responsibly, though. Don't go crazy with the bets and all that. But if you do get up, make sure you let us know next week and stuff. But I'm really, really excited for another show, bro. We're going to add new pieces to this. It's going to grow. But everyone seems to be enjoying it. So we're just going to continue cracking on, bro. So any last thoughts? Last thoughts here?
No, brother. Much love. Really appreciate it.
Sweet, my bro. All right. Up the Warriors, baby. Come meet us in the Titans-Warriors game of the weekend. But yeah, up the Warriors, baby. Up the doggies.
I'll be in my doggies jersey. You'll spot me.